What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 215. Hard to believe it's been 15 weeks since we had our 200 special, but we are cruising right along, and we have a very fun episode today, or should be. If nothing else, it'll provide a lot of laughs as always. So
we make no guarantees. This is a disclaimer.
Hogo's got the disclaimer ready to go.
I make legally binding guarantees.
That's a way to live, Travis. That's a way to live.
You see, this is how we do the
I have
intros
no
around
respect
here.
for the law. I have just,
I can tell as I try to do the intro, but please carry on.
No, we're just going to keep stepping on it. Is there anything else you wanted to add on this, Ains?
I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, joined by these cast of characters you know all too well. Mr. Tie Guy Travis himself, fresh with the new mic and a fresh McClunky, I'm assuming.
McClunky. Yeah,
Wow.
you knew it was coming. That's like
That
the
sounds
smile.
good.
That's the smile of a man ready to scream McClunky into his new microphone.
There you
It's
go.
high def, guys. I can do ASMR now, which is obviously my
Please
main.
don't. You covered that. You know, I got to get the mute button ready. Good morning to you. Sitting beside him, of course, his favorite person and adversary at the same time, Mr. Hogue himself, one of the cast of characters of Lawyers and Dragons. Good morning, sir.
That's right. Lawyers and Dragons launched yesterday. Trees of Eternity. We had a cliffhanger. We had polls. We had characters that you hadn't seen before. Very exciting stuff. Yeah, I had some people coming into my comments on Lawyers and Dragons like, wait, this is you analyze like lawyer stuff, right? You're the one that just was reading like the Elon Musk lawsuits. Yeah, why you're what are you doing? It's like, well, as it turns out, I'm a human being as well as a lawyer, and I have creative pursuits, and I thought this would be fun. So no, it's a good time, and yeah, I think your description of Travis was perfect. He's one of my favorite people on the internet. He is also sometimes one of the most frustrating, and I love each aspect of it.
Yeah, I felt it was appropriate, and of course, holding us together like the glue he is, Mr. Rodriguez. What's happening?
That's a little bit much. That's you know what I was thinking yesterday? I was kind of flipping through some stuff. Travis, does anybody ever told you look like Atreus from God of War? I think you look exactly like him. Like I don't know why it like hit me, but I saw like a God of War like ad, and I was like, man, it looks just like Travis.
If you say so, Father.
Yeah. See, exactly. That's all you gotta do.
That's why Bitcast has to get together in real
Like,
life, so you guys can cosplay.
Given his real identity, actually, I think we can pursue this.
And given your real size differences between Dan and Travis, you could definitely pull this off.
Yeah. Just get a bow and arrow next week, and just let me see it, and then I'll be like, yeah.
Folks, if there's anyone with the capability, this feels like a Photoshop opportunity to me.
Yeah.
You got Dan in the corner, you got Travis in the corner. I feel like we can make this happen as a community.
Yeah, no,
probably like real life height difference too. I mean,
for sure. The height difference is definitely true. You're bald. You probably would look good with that tattoo. You know, the head tattoo.
This sounds like a Halloween episode at bare minimum. So
that's a great idea, actually.
I'm known for being something of a trickster. I'm just saying Hollywood.
You are.
It's true.
Yeah. How do you feel about mistletoe? Are you a mistletoe fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll mess with mistletoe. Whatever. I don't even really know what it is.
As we said, this is going to be a fun one today. So we are going to be talking.
Now I know what my ideal video game is. I already got it. Right
you already nailed it. You already nailed it.
Down.
So we're going to be talking about a couple news items, of course, but then we, with the audience here who's here live with us today, going to be designing the perfect video game. So we are going to go aspect by aspect of video game design, talk about what would be our favorite thing, and come out of it at the end, hopefully, we think, with some sort of game type, game objective, game design that we each individually, including you, like I said, feel would be our perfect game. And is there a game that exists similar to it today? So should be a good time. And we got a super chat before we even started from our friend.
That's risky. That's risky, chat. You don't even know if we'll see that.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true. From Mr. Bomber himself, a frequent guest of the Bitcast, our friend from Gaming Beyond the Box.
Remember, Rocket League is a great game. More Anthem and Halo. Thank you, Bomber.
I love this super chat. Yes, Rocket League, Anthem, Halo. It's got all my favorite things. You know what I mean?
It's everything. Awesome.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate you. All right. Guys, so before we get started, I mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago, we were closing in on 100 reviews on Spotify. We inch ever closer. So if you are a listener, you are someone who joins us every week, it literally takes like 20, 30 seconds if you have a Spotify account. And if you could give us a review, we would greatly appreciate it. It just helps the show get out there in the algorithm. And on the charts for our audio listeners. So thank you so much. And for those of you who did do that in our last ask, thank you as well. Appreciate you.
You're so much better at that than I am, Ains. I had literally had no idea Spotify had reviews. Been running a podcast for like 4 years. It's all good.
Well, they only added them like, I don't know, less than a year ago. They haven't been there forever. So yeah, but it's not often you get to say that I did a promotional thing better than you. That's pretty rare.
Better than me. I heard that. I was going to say that last week. I was like, that's a good idea. I should tell people to review Virtual Legality. Huh. Well, I don't even know how to get there. It's so funny because I wired all this up, 4 years ago. It's like, how somebody asked me, how does your RSS feed work? I don't. They pop up over there. I don't remember. It's all magic.
It is kind of a mess too. Like if you host a podcast, like the different hosting sites that you can use for your RSS feed and reviews and how the algorithm works, and then different sites like Apple require different stuff from Google. It's a mess. Like
it is. And I want to move. I want to change platforms, and it's like I don't know if I can.
All right, so let's talk about kind of new releases, what we've been playing, guys. So I'll kick us off with a big indie release that happened this week that spread across social media, which is Cult of the Lamb.
No, that was the one I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah, I talked about it last week, and our review went up earlier this week from a kind of Metacritic, Open Critic standpoint. It's fared very well. I want to say it's 86-ish, 87, something like that. I don't know if you guys are playing it. I've got about 10 hours into it maybe, and I am loving it. It is such a cool game, such a cool art style. It's quite funny, the things that happen in it, and it's just really well designed and polished. I'm just having a blast with it. So you guys nodding your head. So you playing it?
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I have.
I talked about it last week, Dan. So that says a lot.
He checks out.
Yeah.
He was thinking of Blueberry Muffins and Hitman. It's all good.
Exactly. Thank you. Never heard of it.
Yeah. So how broken is yours?
How broken?
Yeah. How broken is your Cult of the Lamb?
Yeah, it's broken.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, I had buildings disappear.
Oh, really? You've had bugs. I was just saying how polished it is. I've had no problems. Really?
Okay. Yeah, I tried to get into it. I had a crash and I had buildings disappear. And I was like, I will come back.
Wow.
Yeah,
I have not heard that. Huh.
My girlfriend has like 15 hours in it, and she's gotten to the point now where there's like she can't do any of the dungeons because when she gets to the boss gate, the game just crashes on her. So she's waiting for a patch so that she can progress. But yeah, she's been playing it a lot.
Wow.
It's a good game though when it works. I mean, she's super addicted to it. She's like, this is Stardew Valley 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time it's Hades, but not so hard of a Hades game that I don't want to play it, and it's pretty good. Although not an indie game, it does have a publisher technically. I don't know if what's your
counting everything with a publisher?
It's independent, right? It's not independent if it has a publisher. So
I'm not doing this with you this morning. But
wait a minute. All right, hold on. So like if you get published by, let's say like Devolver Digital, right? Like they have a certain kind of feel to them. I would still classify the game types that they release as indie for purposes of describing them to an audience. You would not.
Ains, you might have avoided it, but Hogue bit right on.
That's what I said. Hogue will
here we go. The first Star Fighter day.
I do agree with Hogue though that just for game description purposes, people would classify this as an indie game, even though I know technically you're right. It's published by Devolver.
Yeah. So I'm being pedantic, but yeah, I mean, I would say that if you did not self-publish, that you were not an indie game. People just use it as a useful descriptor, but I mean, it's not an indie game, so it's not independent by definition, which is what indie stands for.
Independent of what? You say independent of publishing. I say independent of major studio support.
Man, we're getting started early today.
If you're published by a major publisher, you wouldn't say that that's support.
No, I've read the
doing PR for
contracts that
you.
come out from indie publishers versus something like Sony, and they're not the same level of support.
Yeah, sure, but they're still not independent. And there's like
independent
there's
of
like
what?
truly
I'm saying
independent-
it's independent of major support.
There we go. We got it. We got the verses up. I mean, you're saying major support, but I'm saying support in general. There are some.
I'm saying there are indie
developers-
publishers that get games after they're made in order to distribute them, and that ain't shit for support. That's still an indie game. You just have a distributor.
Yeah, and there's some developers that self-publish entirely and don't get any support, and those are like actually indie games. They used to happen a lot more, but it's
How is getting a distributor or a reseller not make you independent? I don't understand.
Because by definition,
That's a marketing
independent means-
partnership. They didn't make the
independent
game.
Do you know the definition of the word independent? It means like on your own.
I do know the word independent.
Which means that like if you aren't on your
Travis,
own,
come
you're
on.
not independent. So
well, do you know that in order to establish what independence is, you have to establish what you're independent from?
Sure. What I mean, independent in general means that you're not relying on other people, that you're alone.
Right, but
And
we
I
can
would
take
say
this
if you have
down to the
partners-
reductio ad absurdum, can't we, Travis? Right? Did the independent
Sure.
publishers or independent developers that you like, did they drive on roads? Were those roads provided by governments? Does that lose their independence for making the games that they made? You can take it to whatever level you want. I'm saying being published, especially by someone that maybe didn't make the game at all, doesn't lose you your independent status when it's two guys in a garage in Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire.
Wow. Yeah, we're getting.
Is that
Yeah.
the group that made Cult of the Lamb? Two guys
No.
in Gloucestershire.
No.
Yeah.
No, it is a small team.
I think
though.
they're a pretty substantial team, actually.
No, massive monster. They're a small group.
Yeah. I would just say like the definition of indie has sort of lost some of its relevance because I think
you
people is
reject the internet's discourse on this, and I reject it along with you, Travis. But we have to actually make important distinctions. And Cult of the Lamb is by no means a non-independent game.
I think right now the definition of indie is a vibe. Like if people see it, they go, "Oh, that's an indie game," and you're like, "Eh." Like I question that sometimes because I'm just like, it's not really indie. It had like a major team, major support. It has a publisher. It's not self-published. There are legit indie games. Go on Steam Greenlight. Those are indie games, but I just don't think that that it has a very consistent definition. And I personally would say Cult of the Lamb isn't really that indie. They've got a lot of support of those people. So anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
Do we get the verses
Hold
back?
whole thing.
Yeah.
no. The versus is gone for now.
All right.
Well played, guys. Well played.
Yeah. That was,
Kicking us right off. So that's actually the first I've heard of bugs of that nature. In all seriousness.
Oh no, it's pretty bad. Yeah. I mean, I looked in the forum when my girlfriend ran into issues, and lots of people are dealing with it. So
I've got it on a pause. I've got it on a wait for a patch.
Wow, that's crazy. I've had it on Quick Resume. I'm playing it on Xbox, and I've got it on Quick Resume. I've never shut the game down. Works fine.
there you go.
Maybe that's the trick.
Yeah, maybe
it
Quick
open.
Resume fix
Don't
something
close it.
for a change.
I feel like Quick Resume usually breaks things.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
Age is going for full risky.
Well, because it's
And
not an
there-
online game. Like they put Quick Resume in online connectivity games, right? Which have to authenticate to a server, and then it just fails every time. I don't know why they do that. But
you
with a
pop
game
back
like
in.
this, where it's just a standalone management game, it's worked fine.
What I played, it's got a striking visual style. It's a little bit nihilistic for my for my particular vibe. But no, I think it will be good. Probably pretty shortly, I would hope.
Yeah.
But I can't risk that kind of time expenditure if you're gonna die on me.
Yeah, that's interesting. But anyway, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. One thing I really like about it, right, is it puts you into the role of being a maniacal kind of cult leader, and it pushes you down that route, even if you're not to. It's like, remember, these are your subjects, and if you need to sacrifice one to make a point, then sacrifice one. And I put someone in prison who was talking back, and it's quite funny, really, that you have to get into the mood to play that. But it's all done in such a hilarious kind of art style and motif that I don't know. I'm really enjoying it.
Weirdly, my girlfriend needed no coaxing to step into the role of a cult leader. She was immediately like, "Oh," I was like, "Wow, why is that person like in the gallows?" And she was like, "Oh, well, he he didn't agree with me, so now we're re-educating him. And I was like, oh, this is like a glove for you. You're just hopping right into this.
Something to note for later, Travis. Something to note for later.
For real. I was like, okay.
So Super 7 in the chat asked what we're playing on. I was playing on Xbox. I know, like, if you're on our Discord, people are playing on everything. They're playing on Steam Decks. They're playing on Switch.
PlayStation.
PlayStation. There you go. You've got all platforms covered.
I'm playing it on Xbox as well, which is where we're running glitches. But yeah,
gotcha. I did order the physical. They came out with some cool physical editions from Special Reserve Games, so I have a physical coming for PS5 as well. Can get the super chat from Tal now because it's about Cult of the Lamb. So let me tackle this one.
Yeah, Tal, thanks for the $10 super chat. Cult of the Lamb is awesome. Me and my two brothers are enjoying it. It does have bugs, but it is fun when it works. Roguelites for the win. You're the rogue.
Yeah.
Nice. It actually reminds me more of a game called Moonlighter than either of the ones that I've seen referenced here in terms of Hades or Animal Crossing. If you know that one, you run a shop and go into 4 different dungeons, etc., etc. But that's an indie game, so Travis might not be familiar with it. I don't know. I'd have to check to see if that's a publisher.
Love indie games. I just think you guys are like the people that go to the indie band that made it to like a major concert, and then you guys are like, oh, this is so indie, and I'm like actually like out in the fields listening to some like I'm like the hipster here.
No, my favorite indie company developers obviously Remedy. I mean,
for sure. Totally.
Well, that's your definition, right, Travis? They self-publish.
They don't. They just find new publishers for all their games. They don't sell. Are you guys lagging for?
No, you must be lagging. San Francisco is notorious for its poor internet.
Anyway, Tal, thank you for the super chat. And he did say, he's had crashes as well and a looping bug as well on Xbox. So Christopher Jetzer, you said, is Thymesia supposed to be good or is it too early to ask? It is too early to ask, but the reviews will be out, I think tomorrow, actually. I think it releases, or maybe Tuesday. Out early this week. Thymesia? It is a indie.
Are we sure?
That is a it's a what do you call it? A Souls-like kind of action game that is coming out next week. And we have Elu Spook, who is in the chat, who is reviewing it for us, but we still are under embargo, so can't talk about it just yet. But stay tuned. Oh boy. Stay tuned to the site, Chris, and we will have something up for you this week. Travis, I think, is having...
He's going to go out and in. He's going to do the old turn it off and turn it on.
Gotcha. Sorry, audio listeners. Nice. Travis was having some technical issues.
We didn't even have to tell them we were gone if they're audio listeners.
That's true.
Yeah. They would have never known.
All right. Okay.
Hopefully that works, Travis.
Yep, I'm good.
All right. All right. What else have we been playing, guys? Hogue, you said you were playing a lot of something we were going to talk about. Let's do it.
Let me talk about Arcade Paradise, folks. This is a game by a company by the name of Nosebleed Interactive. It does have a publisher by the name of like Wired something. So I guess it's not an indie, except for the fact that the entirety of the game is you running a laundromat. And I'm not kidding, folks. I use that as a descriptor for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's about a laundromat and a tax audit. That's even less
great movie.
True than this particular game. You're running a laundromat as a teenager in what I think is like the early 1990s. Let's call it 1993. And you get the laundry from the people that leave it for you for the concierge service, and you put it in the washer, and you take it from the washer and you put it in the dryer. And you do that every day of the game. And you clean up gum, and people leave trash. They're animals. And you're doing this throughout. But also, as a teenager, and this store was given to you by your father, who's apparently some kind of either laundry or other kind of retail king. He's trying to teach you to learn business. And you believe that you could make more money if you converted the laundromat into an arcade. So there are a couple of arcade machines when you start out there because your sister had the same plan but was disagreed with by your father, and you take that as the starting point for turning this laundromat into an arcade paradise by going on a 1990s version of the internet, buying arcade machines, potentially other things, all of which grow from your experience, and then you build out this arcade experience in the back. And that's really it, except for the arcade machines are all fully playable, and they are fantastic. They are offshoots of actual 90s games. What I like to describe it as is there's a board game publisher that I really like called Restoration that takes the games from like the 80s and 90s and then says, what would this look like if we actually had modern design sensibilities from the last 30 years? And takes like the feel and the tone and the concept of that board game and brings it up into modern standards. And I love them. They're one of my favorite publishers. This game company, Nosebleed, which I hadn't really heard of before, but I immediately bought their prior and I think first game after playing Arcade Paradise, goes in and takes apart everything from Space Harrier type racing games to puzzle games, Paperboy, and in such a perfect way that they feel like they're from there, but with cool new ideas. And I don't have any idea how many there are. I already have 12, and there's no sign of it stopping. And so it's just this wonderful loop. They have a jukebox that you can buy that has really awesome faux 90s music. So things sound exactly like Smashing Pumpkins or sound exactly like, whatever, Vangelis from the 80s, and all in an experience. I almost tweeted this out. I said to my wife, I'm not sure this is my favorite game of the year, but there was a moment where I have got like synth beats on. I'm listening to this music. I'm moving these laundry things in a menial job, trying to sneak out to have a little bit of time to play the arcade machine so I can get it done from my to-do list so that I can buy a new CD for the jukebox, all these things. And I get purely captured like everything I love about that kind of 90s teenage experience that I had. And so bare minimum, if you're of a certain age, Travis does not apply. It is right there in the nostalgia feels for remembering me working a retail job and doing these various things and trying to squeeze out time to play video games. So I could not recommend it more. I think it's $20. I have probably already played it 8 hours. It is wonderful. It is a bit niche. So
Arcade Paradise. And did I hear you correctly that there is a video game version, updated version of Paperboy within this?
Well, I said that it's not a version of Paperboy. It's not a version of anything. None of the things that they've made are versions of things that already exist. They just are informed by them. So there's a game that has you actually moving around a warehouse and stacking boxes. That's a puzzle, and it's really, really good. Like you easily could have sold it for like $3 separately. The boss of the employment thing comes up and shouts at you in like that fake synth sound, and with that from Paperboy, and it's wonderful. And you have all of these kinds of growth patterns like an RPG, so you can make the video games make more money if you play them more often, but also if you hit these goals that are established for you on each separate machine. And it's just constantly circling around, and you never have enough time, and you feel pressed. And it's a good metaphor for life. But yeah, there is a lot of moving laundry. So
okay,
your mileage may vary there.
Sounds cool. Is it on all platforms or a certain platform?
I believe it's on all platforms. I'm playing it on the PlayStation.
I got it.
But it's
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. No, you guys should be looking at screens of this thing in the background. I know it's on Steam, I believe. But yeah, it's $20, but it's 10% off until the 19th. So right now it's what, $18? Got it, lawyer math. Pretty sure.
Travis, you said you have it on Xbox?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on everything then, right?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
You bought it?
Yeah, if it's on Xbox, it must be on every platform. Yeah, I bought it. I played it a bit, Hogue. It was good.
Hogue spent like 4 minutes talking about it. Travis was like, yeah, I played it a bit. It's good.
It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of time, but I played it for like 30, 40 minutes, and I was like, oh, this is dope. So I like sim games. I was on a bit of a sim game kick last week, so I picked it up.
Yeah, I was
Cool.
power washing things last week as well.
Construction simulator for me, but
Oh, right.
I saw your preview went up for that. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, no, they're just really. What I'm really the most impressed about by that, then I will stop, is that each and every one of the games is both evocative of that time period and going to the arcade, and separately interesting. Like I feel like you can have these types of games, and okay, they kind of suck, and you're like, okay, I get the idea. I feel like I could play virtually all of the machines that I've played and just play it as the game, and have a good time with it.
It's awesome. Yeah, and Elu confirmed it's on Steam, PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox. So good to go.
Could not recommend more. Highest Hogue recommendation.
Awesome.
Also Volstock, which is their first game, which I also bought, which is a combination of like Super Stardust and a cookie clicker. I can't otherwise describe it.
Okay. I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, it's great. I played that for a while too. I love this company. Brand new. Had no idea who they were. Nosebleed Interactive. I will follow you with great interest.
Nice. I actually really enjoy that. You know, when you find a game that you didn't have on your radar at all, right? And then you enjoy the hell out of it. And then you happen to look up this developer and realize they've made 2, 3, 4 games in the past with similar kind of sensibilities. And it's like, oh, you feel like you hit like a little jackpot all of a sudden of something that, you know.
Well, this is a super weird niche, right? So they like economic growth engines combined with other weird video game elements, and then they like to slap mini games in them. So like Volstock is, I'd never heard of it before. You're essentially supposed to be like a space capitalist who's colonizing all of these planets and doing weird things to them. And then you have to find executives to run your company. And they really like it when you play like little Tamagotchi mini games in order to keep them happy, to keep your bonuses up and them not angry and destroying your empire. Anyway, it's very hard to describe. I also wound up playing that for a number of hours. So this is my brand new favorite company here.
Nice. What was I forget what I was writing or talking about the other day. Maybe in an article, but I had remembered the Dreamcast VMU that you used to carry around, and there was a little mini game on it for Sonic and stuff. And I was like, wow, times have changed in 20 years, 30 years now. No, 20 years. Yeah. Anyway, Gecko has a question for you on a super chat here.
Sure.
Are the games mostly informed by arcade games of the 90s, or are there some PC games as well? Thank you, Gecko Gamer.
Well, so they run a couple of different economies at once. They're almost all arcade games in terms of what you're actually putting in the arcade. But you can gain access to extra features on your Office PC, which include, I don't want to get you too excited, Gecko, but Minesweeper and Solitaire.
The legend.
Spoiler alert. There's also an achievement for winning a game of Solitaire.
Sweet. Thank you, Gecko. Appreciate you. All right. What else have we been playing? Anything good?
Xenoblade continues. The Xenoblade Chronicles is a good name for him because it's gonna be a while.
It's gonna be a chronicle. What chapter are you on?
I'm still on 3.
I knew it. I knew you were gonna
I'm
say
stuck
that.
on 3. It's like there's so many side quests like all over, and I go and I see a question mark, and you can't just ignore a question mark, can you? Like we're not built to ignore question marks.
If it's green, you can ignore it.
I go to all question marks, man, all of them. And so no, I'm busy kind of wandering about, upgrading my classes, making sure the whole team has access to the classes when I get them, which takes a little bit of time. And I'm pretty chill in Xenoblade. Like it's like walking around a park. So it's like, wow, look at that. And then I'll just stand at the edge of it. You know, I'm a slow role-playing game player as it is. So your 150 might be 250 in
oh my
speed.
goodness.
I have no doubt.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. At the rate you're playing it, like
Dan, I'm wandering around this the other day, and I'm like, okay, so I'm literally thinking this. If Dan got 400 hours out of Horizon.
This is what I was just going to say,
Hogue.
I'm
sorry, Haynes. I didn't mean to step on it.
No. We had the same thought. I'm like, if Dan had 400 hours in Forbidden West with Xenoblade, like...
Yeah, what is, if Dan somehow got into it, he just caught the bug, like, what is the top line number that Dan could get out of Xenoblade?
He played Tales of Arise, and that is very similar. So
and I have over 100 in that one, too. But now, Horizon, I did play like 3 times all the way through. Yeah. So... that
Xenoblade has a very strong new game plus.
We'll see.
Lots
that
of
could
new
be a problem.
content.
Yeah.
So,
I love that they made a strong new game plus that 3% of their audience will see.
It's crazy, dude. And there's so much stuff locked behind it that I shouldn't talk about for spoilers.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to hear about it. But no, I'm having a great time with it. I'm positive. Kind of regardless of how the story goes, it's my favorite Xenoblade. It's a significantly more active kind of combat strategy experience, which adds a lot to actually wandering around. And it is more grounded than 2. And I like these cats. I would point out for folks that don't like this particular game, it's got a pretty strong Final Fantasy 13 vibe for both the setup and kind of the early stages of what's happening. So it does have that kind of folks on the lam bonding for hours and hours and hours and hours. And we're only now getting into the typical Xenoblade timey-wimey stuff. So we'll see.
And we heard, Travis, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was chapter 5 that was trending on gaming Twitter because I guess big stuff happens in chapter 5. So Hoag's not even there yet.
I will say I felt about the game the exact same way Hoag feels about it when I was at chapter 3.
Okay.
So.
All right. Do you get like those flashbacks, like horror flashbacks when people talk about Xenoblade now?
No, but anytime people are playing a game that I reviewed a while ago for it, I like it brings me back. I'm like, oh my god, I totally forgot about that. So
yeah,
it's kind of cool to hear people who are like, my friend is playing through Xenoblade 2, and he's like live texting me all of his thoughts as he goes through it, and it's like pretty vindicating sometimes because he's like, dude, I just got to this part and like you were right about this, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm not crazy. But yeah, it's nice to see people go through it. It's kind of cool, but yeah, I think we talked about this on our show, are the relationship you have with games you review when people are experiencing them like a month after, and you're like, whoa, that's like,
it's funny you mentioned that because I was just thinking yesterday, no joke, about our conversation, and I don't recall how much we touched on it, but I was thinking about a game like Xenoblade, right? And you've made it clear that your relationship with the game evolved as you played through it, right? Especially in the latter half of the game. And it goes back to what we were saying about, do you have to finish a game to review it? And you and I were very adamant in that point. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, think about how your opinion can evolve so greatly on a game, depending on if you're, especially a big game, right? Like this, if you're at the 5-hour mark, the 20-hour mark, the 50-hour mark, the 100-hour mark, it's going to evolve several times. How can you give a proper opinion or review of a game without going through that motion?
Yeah, well, you can give an opinion, certainly. Like you don't have to play an entire game to have an opinion on it, but I think reviewers have to. They're special souls. They're sacrificial lambs, as what
You know what my wife said? You know what my wife said to me, Travis? I was talking about this experience you had in the car with her, and she goes, "Does he get paid for a 150-hour game?" And I'm like, "Surely not, as compared to what 150 hours took from him."
Yeah, definitely not. No. The philosophy behind the pay model for a review is that like they try to find people who are going to play the games anyway, and they're not paying you for your time in the game. They're paying for you to write about the game that you played recreationally. And so if I had a salary, then that would be one thing. But because I'm not a salaried employee, it's just, hey, Travis, you were going to play Xenoblade, right? How would you like to play it a month early? And then we'll pay you for the review. That said, IGN is super kind. Anytime they see the hours come through, they'll bump up your pay. They'll be like, all right, well,
I think
you didn't know you were going to be playing 150 hours. So yeah, they're very good about it. They don't have to do that, but they do. So.
Sianya said they're still on chapter 3 and totally immersed in completionists as well. So you're not alone, Hoag.
Yeah,
it's a fun place to be. I'm not in a rush, right? Like these areas are cool. They've got like 3 giant ones together in this particular chapter, and so you go and I do what I do. Until that map doesn't have gaps, I'm not moving on.
Yep.
Fair enough. So we might as well hit this. The super chats are coming in very topical, so I'm trying to hit them when they come in here.
Don Lionheart, thank you for the $10.
It's a big one.
Sorry, it's a big one. Yeah. Okay. So, woo. All right. Do you guys think that the love and high review scores for Xeno with the guidance and questions is hypocritical when Horizon Forbidden West got massive criticism for that and Elden Ring got stupid high scores for not having it? Fair.
So my opinion right off the cuff here would be I don't think the scores are purely relative to that aspect, right? And let's not forget that Horizon Forbidden West still is a very high scoring game. It's sitting at a 88 Metacritic or something like that. I mean, it's very high, very highly reviewed. So I would say that the overwhelming positives for Elden Ring are not due to the lack of guidance, even though that played into an aspect for people like myself, but rather many other aspects of that game which are phenomenal. I can't speak to Xeno. You guys can touch on that, but I don't know. Maybe there's some criticism in the gamerverse, but I don't think it relates directly to
it's volume,
review
isn't it?
scores.
I mean, like realistically, it's volume. You're talking about Horizon and the Ubisoft and the things everywhere. Like Xenoblade isn't doing that at all. When I say question mark, I mean like you'll stumble upon a question mark 6 miles that way, and you'll be like, okay, let's go get it. It's much sparser, and I think as Travis rightly pointed out in his reviews,
I'm going to close it just so you could see you.
Oh, sure. It's generally it's more fulfilling on average. Like you see a question mark out there in Xenoblade, it isn't. I don't know that it's ever just kind of like a nothing. It's a Hulk you can restore. It's a new character class you can absolutely bash your head against trying to earn with your underleveled party. You know, it's experiences that are worthwhile. The best thing Travis said, since I'm speaking for him, I'll just, you know, it's fine. The best thing Travis said was effectively that they've got good stuff to give you out there in the side quests and the missions and things, and they really, really do. And so it's always kind of fun, and it's still gorgeous, right? I mean, it's like whatever, it's 10 pixels wide at the points when there's big stuff on the Switch, but it's still gorgeous in terms of artistic style, and so it's just fun to walk around with it if you're Explorer type video gamer.
Yeah, and for me, the question mark criticism from Horizon Forbidden West wasn't so much about like the UI being filled with ugly stuff or the side quests not being good, because I think both those games have pretty dang good side quests. I think it's more the hand holding nature. Like Elden Ring got praised for not holding your hand. Forbidden West holds your hand like crazy, and that it rightly deserves criticism for people that don't like that. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has a crazy, terrible UI and lots of question marks everywhere, but it does not hold your hand. And so I feel like that's the difference, right? Is you can have a map that's filled with like a bunch of stuff, and you can not like that if you don't. But I think if it feels like a game that doesn't hold your hand and is just letting you go out there and explore and figure out things on your own, then that's a very different feeling. So that's just my take on it, is that they're using the map as like a metaphor for how much a game holds your hand, right? Or not a metaphor, but I see what you mean. Yeah,
I was gonna say like the same thing. Like Witcher 3 famously has tons of icons too, right? I mean, they're all over the place.
Bandit camps.
And Ubisoft, we've talked about. Everyone talks about, right, that problem. But to Travis's point, I agree with him, which is the stuff you're doing meaningful? And if the stuff you're doing is meaningful, I don't mind lots of things on the map or lots of things to do. The issue for me, and you spoke to it well, specifically with Forbidden West, it felt like I couldn't do anything on my own without being told to do it. And that just kind of drove me crazy a little bit. So whereas Elden Ring just says, here's a giant world of craziness. Have fun.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what chapter 3 does, right? So chapter 3 throws you at a colony at the start and then says, there's a dot over there, and we got all this stuff in the middle. I mean, if you guys want to check it out. And then so the way I am is like, I wonder if I can walk around here. What levels are you monsters? Oh, I can. All right.
See, I love
some of the areas.
Let me figure it out, right? Like I love Borderlands. Did that really well.
I'm like, ooh, no.
Yeah, like you're fighting an area here and you see something over here and you're like, oh, let me go check that out. And you walk in there and you get slaughtered, right? It's like, all right, I'll come back to you later.
It's got that amazing like Fallout New Vegas thing where like you'll consistently come into areas and you're like, oh no, and then you have to like go and train up and come back later.
You mark it in your head. I'll be back.
You make mental notes of like, dude, there's like a level 80 gorilla I saw right at the beginning of the game. I want to kill that guy. I want to kill him eventually. You know, that was my girlfriend said that immediately. She was like, I need to see you fight that gorilla. And then 150 hours later, I was like, I'm going to do it New Game Plus. You get ready. So, you know.
That's why I mentioned Borderlands, because I've played the beginning of Borderlands 1 about 100 times. And you leave the camp right at the beginning. And right to the right, there's a separate camp with like a mini boss, and you get slaughtered if you fight him right away. Like he shoots you really quick. But when you come back and beat him, he gives you a unique weapon, right? And it's little things like that that, in my opinion, I just love in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Xenoblade's handing out freaking character classes in a job system. So it's like, it's big time.
Yeah.
Question marks.
And one of the character classes like rewards you for killing bosses. Cause if you kill bosses, you can take one of their abilities. It's like, it's so addictive because then it's like, dude, I want to go back and kill every boss I've ever seen. And
I'm going to go visit some graves.
Exactly.
Visit
some graves and resummon. That's honestly the main reason to kill all the bosses, Hogue, so you can get those checkpoints on your map, the fast travel points, and you can go back. Yeah.
Well, I don't have that character, but I've used it for like, oh, there's an orange. How close am I to anything that I can zap to? All right, I need a fast travel point right here. So let's try to take this guy out.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really good. The game is addictive as hell.
Well, it's just I find it a little bit humorous that you guys are describing this not hand-holding thing, especially Ains, when Breath of the Wild is like the template for this is, but I guess that game gets so much criticism, maybe because there's not enough stuff in it, which is weird because people complain about having too much stuff, but this one has not enough. But Breath of the Wild is like the game, if you go back and look at it, and it was fine. It was one of those games that, I liked it, but it wasn't like game of the year thing kind of for me. But, it was, you could literally go fight Ganon immediately. You could do whatever you want in that game. And I think that's what makes it, a very special game. It kind of did a lot of these things before anybody else. But it's crazy to me. It all comes down to like the reviewer, right? It all comes down to what that person enjoys. So you're going to, generally, like, in the past for me, I find somebody that I know that I have very similar tastes with. You just hope that, hey, shout out to 69mega.com. Wow, what did just happen? Oh my God.
Travis has rebranded again.
Travis, what are you doing?
It's just anyway, that, Naked HD, like it wasn't descriptive enough.
Really
like,
take off?
They're naked, but are they like sexy? Like, is that good? It's just not specific enough. So we're trying some new things.
84% will find a girl for you. So that's great. Yeah.
Christy said only 84%.
Those are big league numbers, man.
Thanks, man.
But listen. It's just crazy to me that I think that you've got to kind of find that one person, right, or one outlet, or even that's even kind of hard to do. That you kind of have similar tastes with, and you're not always going to agree with them, and you're not always going to be on the same page. But they're consistent in their criticisms, across the board, with these kind of games. As far as the Elden Ring versus Horizon Forbidden West, I understand where that's coming from, but man, I tell you what, they really hold your hand in Forbidden West, and Elden Ring, like,
they do not trust you.
Played it. Yeah, I mean, it's completely, sounds completely the opposite. That's all Dark Souls games or Souls-like games or games from FromSoft. They just don't do it. So you kind of know what you're getting into there. Mm-hmm. Like Horizon Zero Dawn wasn't like Forbidden West in that respect. There's a huge difference, and it's really, I think, really annoying sometimes.
Now that I've tried to play Forbidden West 3 times and still haven't gotten caught into it, I think that's what stands out for me. Is that annoys me so much it won't let just let me play the game.
You got to think of it more like a JRPG.
Yeah,
they want that control of the narrative. Like they want that level of ownership. So you just have to think about it like Final Fantasy VII.
That may be a perfect analogy for why I'm not getting into it, and why, because I don't play a lot of JRPGs anymore.
Yeah.
Because of that reason. I prefer open world, just playgrounds, which we're going to touch on more later. But
it can be both.
It can be both. It can.
I was going to say, as this whole conversation is going on, it's like, I totally get why you might not like Breath of the Wild, because there aren't any paydays really in terms of that story proceeding or anything else. Xenoblade, you get to that next red point, it might be a 2-second text screen. It might be a 35-minute fully animated anime episode.
Yeah.
Like,
It's crazy.
It's gorgeous. Like, I love the direction of these things. They do a lot of really cool shots and things like that. But yeah, you got to steel yourself. You're going to get some Kojima level cutscenes in this bad boy.
You turn me off more on this game every week.
Oh no, I know. I'm saying this is like, that's what happens. I'm just being honest.
Oh yeah. And it's, again, I'm in the minority, right? It seems most people adore this game, which is awesome. Just to touch on your point, Dan, I think
the
you
majority
nailed it.
haven't played it. I think so. You're actually in the majority of people who haven't played it.
Shut up, Travis.
Have you considered the
I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go straight
on?
to shut up, Travis. From now on, it's easier.
Being pedantic to Ames never is not a worthwhile endeavor.
I know it never fails. I can't help myself. Dan, I was just gonna, and you and Hogue both kind of touched on it. For me personally, with Breath of the Wild, is what Hogue said and what you kind of said is there's no payoff. I completely agree with you that I loved what I really liked about Breath of the Wild was you get to the what they call the first plateau or whatever, right? And it's kind of your introductory area, right? And then you just kind of go off. I love that. And I got really into it early on. And then like as you explore more and more and you do more of the shrines, which are just very repetitive, and you just kind of explore and there's just nothing happens, or you don't really find anything to me that was overly interesting. Whereas Elden Ring was like there's something nuts every 50 meters. And, so it's just different. That's all.
I like Immortals as the refinement of the Breath of the Wild model.
I played a little bit of that, and I've been told by a lot of people that I should play that because it's more enjoyable to them.
It's very good.
Recommended it.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Quite good.
So, a couple super chats to get to. Let's go ahead and do that. Starting with Mr. Eric.
Eric, thank you, man. Dan out here spitting hard truths. Breath of the Wild stands unite. Yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, it was always, you have that game was always like, okay, here's your goal, go do it. And then, whatever was, the content within, that's, up to the individual user. But, I think that they did a good job. And I think a lot of games, took, cues from that game and a lot of their how they did certain mechanics and stuff and kind of started applying it down the line. And they refined it. And like Hogue said, Immortals is a really good
Immortals is a Breath of the Wild freaking
It is Breath of the Wild. But with a lot more stuff to do, and it's just and that's what it is, But without Breath of the Wild, we don't have Immortals, we don't have, So I'm glad that these it's Nintendo, but I mean they're changing the game with different kind of thing, different kind of mechanics and stuff. The climbing mechanic you see used, in several games now. That that's the kind of game, and we'll again talk about this later. That I think a lot of us kind of gravitate to, where it's like, let me do what I want to do. You don't have to hold my hand, but at the same time, don't get to the point where it's like there's no information and you're just like running around smacking your head. Like there's a happy medium somewhere in there, and like that's why I just don't do Dark Souls.
I think
it's just too much.
I think and I don't often levy positivity to this game too often, but I think Ghost of Tsushima did that very well. They walked a happy medium between a open world that was kind of less question marky, less continually in your face, but also gave you enough to kind of explore and find things on your own. So I
think Ghost is a fantastic recipe, but as you know, I named it my game of the year in its release.
I think a lot of people did. I mean, again, it's a very.
I like to make the left side of the screen have faces, folks. So,
I think Travis and I agree more on Ghost of Tsushima. I'm like an 8 for that game. I'm kind of like, it's a good game, very good game, but it's not up there. But it doesn't matter. And Eric, thanks for the super chat. He's always giving me crap about Breath of the Wild, so he had to get that in there.
Yeah, Gecko Gamer with the €5. Yeah, the Just Cause games also don't hold your hand. Man, you tell you what, man.
Playground.
Games are. So much fun.
They're playgrounds.
Yeah, stupid.
They give me
fun.
Fast and Furious energy in those games. It's quite good.
Well, they have that level of writing.
Yeah, I was gonna say about 3rd grade level writing. It's about right. Yeah.
How dare you? Did any of you guys actually play those games? I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Only
Just
briefly.
2 is my favorite, man.
Yeah. Those games are good.
I never played 4 though with the new engine. Was that one good?
Yeah,
I think it's good. I think it's on Game Pass, isn't it?
I think it is. I just never
played. 3 is like, that was like the Fast 5 of that franchise where it really leveled up. Because I played the other 2, 1 and 2, and those games were like funny, but they were like bad funny. It was like,
well, it's the
okay,
Saints Row evolution, right? So Just Cause wants to be serious, and then it's like, we suck at this, boys. And then they try to embrace what they are. And then later on, they reinvent their series and just have it be grounded. So we'll see what's coming in a couple weeks.
And
I mean, the problem with that game was it's fine. It was just, you've got Rigo Rodriguez, who was basically a Hispanic caricature of Gerard Butler, and it's just not great. You have a terrible main character. Not that that's the point, because I love Just Cause 2. That was my favorite one in the series. But it's just, you're never going to be serious when you're flying around on a grappling.
I don't think they want to be serious though. That's kind of the point.
Yeah. That's kind of the point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point.
Well, by the time you're hitting 4, they're in full-on Sharknado kind of.
Yeah,
how they're describing their game.
Agreed.
Sharknado. Don back with another.
Yes, with the $5. I'm still relatively new here, but I think Dan is that shared opinion guy for me. I don't mind being told what to do. I hate puzzles. No hashtag no indies. AAA. Number 1. I agree. Yes.
Don, totally thank you so much, man. Appreciate the super chats. And Dan, there's someone in Dan's corner here.
Honestly, Dan is the every gamer. Most people agree with Dan. Most people
are we positive that Don and Dan aren't the same person?
This is or Dan's old account.
This is the sock puppet account.
This is my sock account. It's not as sexy, but it's truthful. It's truthful.
No, Don Lionheart is much sexier of a name than Dan Rodriguez. Sorry, bro.
I was talking about HD naked 69.
Oh, I see. Yeah, not my alternate. Yeah.
In comparison, there's really none. Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Don, thank you. All right. One other thing I was going to mention on currently playing is the new season of Apex Legends is out. Season 14. It introduces a new hero named Vantage. I have not played Apex Legends since season 2 in 2019. I played the heck out of it at launch and then just fell off of it. Haven't gone back to it. Eric, Game Positive in the chat, a few other friends have been playing it a lot. If you didn't know, season 14 launched beginning of this week, and Apex broke its concurrent player record of all time. So it's a huge. I mean, it was already a huge game in the community. Season 14 has even escalated it further. So me, probably like many others, re-downloaded it. I played it yesterday quite a bit, actually, with a couple friends, had a blast. It's in a really, really good place. It's got multiple modes now, multiple maps, a lot of different heroes. It's just a lot of fun. So if you're one of those people like me who played Apex early on, haven't played it in a while, it's a great time to dive back in and check it out. So just throw that out there.
I can add nothing, Ains. I'm sorry.
No, don't have to. Just figured I'd mention it. Dan, do you have anything besides muffins or Hitmans?
No, that's all I've been playing. I just would like to shout out my hubris for jumping into the elusive target and failing it for the first time in 2 years. If you don't know, elusive targets, they come around about once every couple months, or once a month, or once or twice a month. Yeah, you get one time to do it. Now there are ways around that, but I don't ever take them. The new map gave us a Molotov cocktail, so I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to use this somehow. I tried to place it nicely on the ground in order to shoot it later. I instead threw it at the wall right in front of me and caught on fire. Also, killing an innocent busboy, one of the 2 targets that were in there, and I think maybe a couch. So, my bad. But
so now you rolled a 1.
Yeah, I did. And I now every time you boot it up, the first thing you see is Hitman, then elusive target with a big giant failed sign at the bottom. I
like that, actually. That's awesome.
It's really
the
really
elusive target thing is so cool in Hitman. It's like
fun.
Because it honestly, I get nervous about it. Like you only get one attempt, and if you fail it, they do not let you try it again. And I don't know any of the workaround Dan's talking about, but like
basically what you have to do is close the game out.
Into a satellite.
You would close the game out. You go to your menu, your hub, whatever, your home screen, close the game from there, and it won't record that you did it as long as you didn't die, basically it. If you haven't died, like if you fail one of the objectives or something, you can still close it out and go back through it.
Just quit the game and relaunch it.
Yeah, basically quit. You got to quit. Yeah, you got to relaunch the whole game. So,
but you've succeeded. You've succeeded at every elusive that they've released, Dan, before now.
Yes. Now it hasn't been pretty, you know. But a lot of them they've released in the last 2 years have been kind of rehashes. They've only done very few for the Hitman 3. Like they have the Elusive Target Arcade. Those are fun because, you know, I thought they would be kind of boring, but they actually add kind of like a twist to every group of people. It's like usually 3 targets, but you might, you know, your costume that you're wearing might get spotted more by other people, or they have like a little twist in everything, or you can only have a restricted loadout or something like that. But yeah, I mean, at this point, when they come around now, I know how to do them. This one that came out, it's called the Ex-Dictators, and there's 2 people. It's this dictator and his wife, and I hadn't played it for it's been a long time since they've let that one come out. So I'm hoping they add it to the arcade so I can redeem myself, because right now it's really a punch in the gut, man. Man, it's tough.
I said maybe that's the wake-up call you needed to get to a different game.
Yeah, and then I brought up Anthem, and then the conversation died. So that was what happened.
All right. Okay. So Travis, we didn't actually, you commented on everything, but you didn't say anything specifically. Is there anything you wanted to mention in terms of currently playing?
Yeah, I mean, I've played pretty much everything you guys have mentioned, plus not Yakuza, and then, you know, I did Digimon Survive last week, played a ton of that. Did Construction Simulator, which I had way more fun with than I thought, and now I'm working on a preview that'll probably go live sometime next week or the week after that I can talk about. But yeah, just keeping busy doing stuff.
Well, how mysterious you always are.
Embargoes, you know, NDAs.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, we will move on then. So guys, we were just joking, or we've joked a couple times about delays, obviously, and major games and guessing when they were landing. And of course, we got what we expected, and Hogue nailed it last week, that Hogwarts, or should we call it Hogwarts Legacy, has been delayed officially. So delayed out of holiday 2022 to specifically February 10th. So really, if we were thinking early December, only about an 8-week delay here.
Don't make a joke about Hogwarts.
Well, if you missed it, the reason I said that Hogue and I were joking about that is that Nibel, who's pretty well known on Twitter for game news, he actually called it Hogwarts Legacy when he posted about the delay. So
I was trying to figure that out because the E is nowhere near. I'm like, that's weird. I wonder if you're a follower.
So February 10th is the new date for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation consoles. Funny enough, they said the Switch is now to TBD. So they didn't even give a date. Yeah, which was weird, right? Because it was supposed to launch on everything. So if you're familiar with the Switch lineup and some of these bigger kind of AAA scope games, they may be doing the whole cloud release on this one. I don't know.
If they haven't done it before, they might be having a snag. I don't think there's a WB one that's been cloud based on Switch.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is Portkey Games. It's not a small development team, but they are, you know, you're not talking about one of your premier studios, but this game seems to have a big scope, right? I mean, they've been working on this game for a long, long time now.
Well, if you haven't watched the trailer hits numbers, I mean, Hogwarts Legacy is right in the slot to be one of the biggest games of the year. Yeah, whatever year it releases in.
Yeah. So they want to get it right.
Don't screw it up. Yeah, I think they finally said don't screw it up. And also, you look at the sales, like February or late January has become a place where you can sell just fine.
Big time. Big time.
That's where Horizon Forbidden West launched. That's where other, major releases, Resident Evil 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, they're all in those.
Elden Ring.
Some game called Elden Ring. They're all in that kind of slot. So if you're not coming in a place where you are happy with the quality, then there's no reason, especially December. Like you say early December. It felt like when you say holiday and you're like really you're not saying anything. I'm like mid. You're like leaning right in as close to Christmas as possible. And I think that you're not making the benefits that you want from that window anyway. That you aim for that November release. If you're that far into December, you might as well do January, February, especially if it isn't coming together for you. So that's why, last week I said, nah, this is not. It's going to be January, February.
I don't know about you guys. Maybe this is anecdotal, but in today's marketplace, right? It used to be you've got to land in the fourth quarter for Christmas. We know the old montage of going to the store and buying games. In today's market, it honestly feels like February or kind of that first quarter releases are bigger than very late releases. Like if you hit in November, good. You've seen some December releases in the past couple years, which really haven't landed well.
Immortals is a December 8th release, right? And it just doesn't.
By the way, it's Gods and Monsters. This Immortals name has got to go. It's Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters is such a great title, and I agree with you. But yes, Immortals is, especially with the Phoenix misspelled rising, as the subtitle sounds like a failed 1990s Fox Saturday morning cartoon show. But yeah, no, don't try to hit that window if it's not coming in. It'll be great in February. I'm looking forward to it. And honestly, like, the fall winter of 2022 has just been scrubbed in its entirety. So we're just moving on. Play Arcade Paradise, play Elder Scrolls Online, catch up with your Xenoblade Chronicles 3 save that's still going when December rolls around. Enjoy yourself without the pressures of the fall. And you'll still get a Pokemon game. You'll still have, if you're into it, Modern Warfare again.
Yep.
Again. Modern Warfare again. There's games coming out, and people are excited about Saints Row. Who knows?
And play Elden Ring. I mean, that's really all you need.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. I've tried it twice. By the way, I told you when I last tried it that they definitely added in a lot more hand holding.
They did add some quality of life things for sure. Yeah. Yeah, this one, I know we've said before that this one just felt like it would be awesome to land around Christmas time, but the game is obviously more important, right? You got to make sure that this game, there is, from, again, anecdotally, I keep saying that, but, just from the gaming community that I see, there's a lot of hype for this game. And I think if it lands properly and without a lot of bugs and it has a good experience, all the things you expect out of a game of this size, this is going to be a huge, huge win for WB and Portkey Games as a developer. So, absolutely take your time and get it right. So, yeah, but there you go. The funny thing, I don't know about you guys, is we keep seeing all these major delays to 2023, right? We've seen tons of them now. And people are now saying, well, 2023 is going to be incredible. And it's like, you realize that there's going to be delays from 2023 to 2024, right? Like, not everything's going to land in 2023.
For fall 2023 are going to get delayed. I will say that my only thing I have to contribute to this is it's really weird seeing my old buddy from my beat, my games as a service beat, who I went to like every Destiny event with for like 6 years, doing the announcement of the delay for Hogwarts Legacy. My buddy Chandler, who was the guy doing the video. If you guys watched the video, or there's a guy walking on the rooftop saying like, "Oh, we're delaying the game." That was my friend Chandler, who
nice
I've hung out with back when he was a games journalist. So it's pretty funny.
That's good.
I have to call out our chat. Immortals definitely came out in December. Sorry, chat.
Tal. Nice. Immortals was October. All right, you guys.
It was not. Your memories of buying it at Thanksgiving are wrong. I'm very sorry. It's a Berenstein Bears situation. It's not out until December.
I don't remember, honestly. I think
he reviewed it.
Hey, could be.
I'm just kidding. I don't think Tao has that kind of access. Ains, what's the verdict?
I don't know.
Games, by the way, we did skip the biggest game in Hogue House this week. We don't have to talk about it a lot, but 2 Point Campus came out this week.
Oh yeah, I played that too.
Big really strategy game. 2 Point Hospital, one of the favorites here in Hogue House. 2 Point Campus, more of that, but obviously with a different bent towards educating college students rather than curing them. Highly recommended. You can check it out on Xbox. You can check it out on PC.
First of all, educating kids is curing them. Okay.
Of the disease of ignorance.
Yeah, I don't know. But my question about Hogue Household is, when kids are playing, I'm playing it right now.
She's playing it right
Amazing.
now.
There you go. It's a fantastic game. When they're playing that, are you playing like Xeno on the Switch, or is the Switch dominated by the kids? Because that's the problem, right?
Right. So we only have the one Switch, because I had planned to get more Switches whenever they announced a Pro, and they've kept me wanting. But for the most part, I have been playing Xenoblade in the mornings before they get up. And then otherwise, to the extent I have time, because I'm not playing as much as I would like, I am playing in the Xbox PlayStation area. So that's what, Arcade Paradise was on. I play 2 Point Campus on the Xbox while my wife plays it on her PC. So I'm trying to race her. I'm down about 6 levels already, I think. So we're probably not going to win that race. But yeah. Anyway, it's excellent. 2 points of Special Studio, the inheritors of the Bullfrog Legacy. Highly recommended.
Cool. Very
It's a cool game.
All right. And I know you guys want to talk about this one, so I'll set it up and then you can knock them down for me. So we got the Splatoon 3 Direct this week, kind of the full presentation from Nintendo about Splatoon 3, which comes out in less than a month now. So I'll run through these bullet points.
You watch that Direct, she's like, it's still so long. I wish it were September 9th.
So this takes place in Splatsville. Turf War is still the main attraction, except for it's going to launch with 12 different maps, which is cool. There's new movement and stages, obviously, but new abilities that you can do while playing this. There are Splat Fests, which are split into 2 halves now. The first is Turf War. The second is going to be a new 4v2v2 match. So with 3 teams. And that's actually going to begin on August 27th, even before launch occurs.
There'll be data.
Okay,
They do that. They do that one day of we check our servers. Nintendo does that on all their online games.
Yep. So that's August 27th. They talked a little bit about Salmon Run. They talked about story mode. They did mention that there are going to be free additional maps and customization elements and DLC, and there will be paid DLC as well. And that character customization is more extensive than in the past. So you've got modern kind of multiplayer things like banners and titles and icons and avatars and all that kind of stuff as well. So
and lockers.
There you go. So I will stop talking there because I'm at the end of my Splatoon knowledge, and let you
That's
guys
more
take it
than
away.
mine.
What? You're not journeying into the Splatlands? Oh, we're pumped at Hogue House.
Yeah. And you know what's funny, Ames, is you always talk about how Nintendo doesn't have any online games. And then you don't play the ones that they're serving up, which are quite good and super original and unique and actually work well online.
Yeah, I may try this one. I did try Splatoon 2. It didn't get me, but I'll try this one. I'll jump in party chat with friends and play it.
Yeah, you should review it.
Should review it. No,
yeah, because then you'll be forced to play the whole campaign and at least
you'll play the campaign. You'll get your beak wet with some Turf War before you advance to the more ranked modes,
because
which really
squids
spice things up a bit.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you can be.
I'm just backing you up. I'm backing you up. I'm your hype man. Yeah.
Well,
this is a hype man.
Well, understand that half of Splatoon is like fashion and being hip, and they spent like 10 minutes of the Splatoon Direct being like, check out these cool shades and socks and shoes and shirts, and all this stuff. He's like a rap battle hype man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oof.
So it's got a lot of cool stuff from the sounds of things. All of the campaigns in Splatoon are cool. They're a little bit underrated, in my opinion, for the cool kind of aspects that they have of puzzling and environmental puzzle solving. I think the biggest criticism you can levy at it is that it looks like Splatoon 2 plus. It's Splatoon 2 again. And I think people have probably rightly said online, why are we not doing a content approach to this? Nintendo walks to the beat of its own Nintendo drummer. And I am very excited about Splatoon 3. My daughter is over the moon for it. She really honestly thinks that September 9th sounds like it's 6,000 years away. She collapsed onto the floor and pretended to play dead when she was once again reminded of the date. So we're not watching any more Splatoon content before it's actually available.
Play dead.
Yes.
I think you mean play.
He got it as like a double negative. His wheels are turning. So, well, if you're playing it, well, I don't understand. Yes, I'll introduce you to my daughter sometime, Travis. It'd be great.
That's gotta happen for sure.
But Splatoon 3,
I feel like we have similar attitudes towards Splatoon. We both collapse on the ground.
Yes, but do you slide off the chair like you have just started to melt as Gumby? Yes, exactly. You nailed it. That's the look.
There you go.
It was a very cool Direct. It was a very long one. I think it was 31 minutes, something like that. They got the Salmon Run. They got the levels. You say 12. I think it's like 6 are redos. So I think it's 6 and 6.
Okay. Yeah. 12 total. Yep.
Yeah. And it'll be a great time. Splatoon is a fun game. Turf War is fun. And it is both complex and very approachable. Nintendo is magic at that. That my daughter, who is now 10, has been playing Splatoon for years. And honestly, I started being like, I don't know if I want to put you in an online game because I don't feel guilty about throwing you in something that's team based and these kinds of things. It took her like a few weeks maybe to get the top score on like every team she played for, and I was like, all right,
nice.
then.
Very cool. Very cool.
But
Splatoon 3. Yeah.
And then the last thing I will say is there is a Splatana, and my oldest daughter is also very excited about the notion of a paint sword that she can hit people with. All right. Thank you. This has been my TED Talk.
Travis?
I was just going to say Splatoon is a franchise that I think Nintendo could very much benefit from starting to think about a game as a service model, which surprisingly they've done for some of their games, like Mario Kart, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. Where they're doing content and supporting the game afterward, and then just re-releasing it on every device they have. And it's interesting to me that Splatoon 3 has a, Spaceballs 2, the search for more money type of vibe to it, where it sort of makes you wonder why it's coming out. So hopefully they're going to add a game as a service model and make this, the last mainline Splatoon for a while until it makes sense to do another one, because it's weird that that it is a sequel. Some games do that, right? Like there's like Left 4 Dead and then Left 4 Dead 2, and even back then when game as a service wasn't really a thing, I was like, why
yeah, I mean, some games do that. It's weird. Like there's something like Fate or it's Destiny. There's a Destiny 2. That's weird.
Yeah, no, Destiny 2 is a great example because it is a game as a service model and got a sequel, but that was a very much Activision pushed kind of product. Like you got to come out with a retail game. So
my favorite bit of the Activision relationship is the cover to Destiny 2, the original one, which is like 3 Call of Duty people.
Oh my god,
it's like that's not the vibe.
Terrible branding. Yeah. That is a lesson learned, but it's also an interesting conversation because some games as a service game, when they are a service for long enough, their player base eventually starts to go down, and then you almost need a sequel just to revitalize it if you're going to continue going. Some games do that. Some games are like Rocket League, and they'll just never need it. You know what I mean? And
right, like if you were like watching over something, if you were looking at something from a high position, if you were in Overwatch kind of thing, you might try to revitalize your game with a sequel.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. To me, I think it makes sense to just like keep a game alive until the technology means that you can no longer keep that engine up, and then it's like, all right, time to keep doing it. Like there will be a Destiny 3, I think, or there'll be some sort of sequel because
that next one is called Destiny. That next one is called Destiny 100,000%.
I don't know, man. A lot of people thought that Destiny 2 would never be the name of a game because it sounds so stupid, and here we are. Now it's been around for longer than
it's like Final Fantasy 2. Like what the hell, right?
But no one calls it Destiny 2. They just call it Destiny.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's there's also interesting.
They're wheeling it back. It's gonna be like all caps or some different font selection. It'll be Destiny. The next iteration is Destiny.
Yeah.
Anyway, Splatoon is the next Destiny. I think we can all agree. The next Destiny game.
I haven't even ever thought of it as a games as a service, Travis, but you are so right. Like they have everything that you need in terms of your third person. It has those visuals. It already has like the slots that you're trying to kit your character out with. It could absolutely support a battle pass and like the occasional level.
Yep.
And 100%. That's the.
I can't believe they're launching this without a battle pass.
They would make so much more money.
Yeah.
They're using their if you did see in the direct, you skipped it, but they're using what they're calling catalogs, which is the same as their Nintendo Switch Sports concept, which is to keep engagement up. They will have things that are only available for that specific window of time that you can earn this kit, and then they will then progress to the next catalog. So that Nintendo is grappling with notions of making sure you keep engagement up.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit question marky of, okay, engagement is good. but then you monetize them. Like that's how this works, Nintendo. I don't.
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
It also allows you to do really cool things like not sell your game for $60, right? Like if they incorporated battle passes, they could provide content to their players for free going forward. And Apex Legends is a dream of a game that is $0, and you can have never spent a penny on it if you didn't want to. So I don't know. People like to crap on games as a service, but there are some very, very strong arguments for accessibility and longevity and all that stuff that I think Splatoon could absolutely benefit from now that they've got a core game that we know works and they've got 3 iterations to try it. And I think this is the platform to just build upon. So hopefully they do that.
Well, yeah, and just to further that point, because I see Joe in the chat said he has essentially said he doesn't like battle passes, and I would say that there's a broad range of success and failures with battle passes. Apex is a great example of that. I was playing yesterday with a Bloody who stops by sometimes, and he bought the battle pass in season 1 of Apex, right? And it's one of the battle passes where if you finish it, you get your money back in full, right? You get all $10 back.
I like.
Yeah. He has every single battle pass complete and has not bought one since day one.
That's me on Fortnite.
Yeah, so I mean, that's and along the way, of course, has unlocked tons of cosmetics and customizations and everything else just for playing. To Hoag's point, you keep engagement up because there is a direct valuation of engagement to dollars spent, even if you're offering the battle pass at a long-term refund of your money spent. You're going to get additional money somehow. Typically, that's what they rely on, of a percentage of your players. So, but there's some games that do it well. There's some games that don't. We know that. We've had that conversation, all of us, many times.
Sorry.
Halo does give you your money back as well, by the way.
Yes, as of a fairly strenuous outpouring of concern for the battle pass's initial.
That's true. They didn't launch with it, but yeah,
that's good though. That's the thing about a games as a service that is bad is not a negative response to what you do. It is no response to what you do.
Travis, I'm entirely in favor of being responsive to the concerns. I wish people wouldn't come out with this will work. It's like, who is your advisor? That Halo original battle pass system was, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. It was so weird that like everything was so polished and then the economy was so bad, which usually in games as a service is the one thing they always get right. They put like all their effort into making the monetization like just
they forget to make a game.
I was like, this is like terrible. Like the system that you built for this. It's like, I want to keep playing and your game isn't giving me enough reasons to do it. Like that's insane for a game as a service game, but they're learning, man.
Yeah, they're learning.
The point is Splatoon 3, folks. Yeah. We're going to get Ains on board. We are going to be the fearsome foursome. We're going to rock up ranked in Splatoon.
I'll buy it if Dan buys it.
Nope.
Oh.
No,
there is no way that. I mean, that's an unrealistic don't come and say that. I don't play multiplayer game.
It has a story mode. It has a story mode.
Somebody will play
it does. It has a campaign. It has levels like a Mario.
There you go. You're good. Yeah. You're good. Eric says, if Ains buys Splatoon 3, I'll buy it. Oh, here we go. We're gonna get on.
There you go. Now, you guys. Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna have to buy it because he has kids. So welcome aboard, Dan.
That's right, chat. Get Ains. Peer pressure is good. Convince him to purchase Splatoon 3.
I'll probably buy it and try it. It'll happen.
He'll buy it as soon as they release a special edition.
Man, I'll be lucky if I don't have to buy every amiibo that they release for the damn thing.
Yes, they showed those as well.
This is a Splatoon household.
Stingray says if Game Positive buys it, I'll buy it.
We're Game Positive says if Ains buys it, I'll buy it. So there's a domino effect here that's all hinging
or
on...
a recursive loop, depending on where we go with this.
It's true. Oh my God, I didn't think about that. We'll see where
Pampa did point out, to be fair, back to Halo, in that Halo is one of the only games right now where your battle pass never expires. So you
were buying content with your hard-earned cash money, and you just weren't getting it on a predefined term. It wasn't a battle pass; it was just you not getting what you purchased for a period of time.
Yep. So, but
which is all battle passes, except for some of them you never get. You can
because a battle pass actually is a season, and it's temporal, and it's like buying a ticket to Disney World. If it never expires and we just don't give it to you, and you can't earn your money back, all you really did was buy a satchel of cosmetics that you don't get until an arbitrary point in time in the future.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought because like I'm in favor of what they did because I get the FOMO of, dude, I have to finish the battle pass now. I have to play this game more than I want. And now I can just buy the season pass, and then later when I'm on like a binge, I can catch up on like 2 or 3 season passes in a row.
Yeah.
And so it
You never
feels better.
miss that cosmetic otherwise. Yeah.
So, but that's an interesting point, Hogue. Like I could see why people wouldn't like that, but also battle passes in general, or if you're buying one, you're kind of, I mean, you're just trying to support the game. That's how I view it. Is like, oh,
That's what I do. I have a ton of battle passes I've never finished because.
Well, I mean, like I said with Fortnite, right? So I've only ever ridden my $9.50 from 3 years ago through the battle passes, but I feel guilty about that. And so occasionally, if I feel like I've really been enjoying the season or I played it a lot, I will go and I will find their like whatever their get a bonus amount of V-Bucks for $5.99 is kind of package deal, and I will throw them the $6 because God knows Epic Games needs it. But yeah, it's like you've given me so much this season. I haven't paid you in 3 years. I'll buy your spacesuit, man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guilt purchase.
I spent $35 on Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix skins. I have not played the game once since.
In Fortnite?
In Fortnite. Haven't
So
played
you're both supporting Epic and Microsoft's royalties. So you gotta
I haven't played Fortnite since I reviewed it, and it did not have a battle royale mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't review Fortnite Circuit.
Save the World is what
I reviewed Fortnite. Okay, you can find my review.
What's funny is Save the World is still pretty generous with V-Bucks. Like people could actually go and run their economy through that if they wanted to, but not so much.
Yeah. Let's catch up on a few super chats here. I'm gonna go out of order, just topical here.
All right. Tao with a $10 super chat. Thank you, sir. Splatoon is a good entry point for kids and shooters. My niece started there and plays Fortnite, Apex, and any other she wants to play and handles her own. Still trying to get her into Indie/Rogues. Good luck.
Nice,
Good
Tao.
luck.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you. All right, Gio,
just finished the main story of Final Fantasy 14. Still hooked. It feels in a lot of open world games that timing of the main story struggles by many side quests. What is for you more important, story or freedom?
Ooh, and this will tie into our big topic we're about to get to. So
yeah, it's the hardest thing in the world to balance. We can talk about it.
Yeah. Very tough. We
haven't even gotten into it.
I know. We'll expound upon this shortly, Gio.
Haynes is always surprised at how much we can just talk about nonsense every single time. And Travis and I try to say, Haynes, we'll be fine on the nonsense.
Yeah,
and then I bring up the definition of an indie game
like
5 minutes into the show and
start us out.
Derails it. Yeah.
Thank you, Gio. We'll cover that more, like we said, in just a moment. And
I always have a breaking case of emergency Star Wars reference just ready to go.
Yeah. In case you run out of content, we just
and Gecko back on the Hogwarts.
Changes of Hogwarts cyberpunking or chances.
Yeah, it's got to be chances. I was like, I thought it was a code phrase.
Yeah, for a second I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. Chances of Hogwarts cyberpunking
near zero.
No way. And not even gonna happen.
Near zero.
That's
I
mean, come on now. This is not like
you think they're gonna release it busted?
No way.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm super hyped for this game. I really hope it's good, especially since I have a friend that's working on it. But that trailer, it made me scared. Some of the stuff
because it's so aspirational. But there's no
some of the stuff I think didn't look like it worked properly. Like, I mean, I think that's probably why I got delayed, right? Like when they were broom riding, the stuff I saw from there, I was like, ooh, this is a little. You know what I mean?
think it's far more likely that the trailers and the mood of openness and live your life as a Hogwarts student and that fantasy is more carefully controlled and video gamified in the final product. That's the bigger risk, I think, than what they showed, than them actually releasing a busted open, like super open world. I suspect it's more narrowly tailored than what they have pitched, which is fine with me. I'm used to video games, but they do run the risk of having written a very large check to the people. That's why it's 30 million views on their trailer and things like that. And I would be concerned if I were internal and being like, this is what classes actually are. This is how our plot actually works. This is how levels actually happen. Than that, because their marketing did fantastically, but now you have to actually cash that check. So that's my bigger concern there.
I think I agree. It's more likely that it's probably underwhelming than actually broken. But I guess it's sort of a hard guess, just because you never really know what state a game is in unless you're in the studio or you have some sort of early access, and none of us do. So,
well, I'll tell you what I will agree with, though. They have definitely found themselves in the cyberpunk zone, that the people imagining that filling in what the game is in their fantasies. You're going to live in Night City and experience the life of a cyberpunk person and all this kind of stuff. Like Hogwarts Legacy is, at least in the conversations I've had, finding that kind of cachet in people's heads. And you do run that risk of like, oh, it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a video game.
I like that we've determined it's either going to be unfulfilling or broken.
Well, I've always thought that they oversold it a little bit, but I'm still all in. I think this is going to be fantastic, but I doubt that it is as big as it looks in their marketing.
Agree.
We'll see, though. If it honestly, we're the skeptics because we've seen it, and we don't watch a trailer and go, oh yeah, this is I believe everything and more that they told me in the trailer. But also, they could surprise us.
Yes.
If it ends up having all the hopes and dreams contained in it that we have, which obviously seems like the goal of the people making the game, just based on the video documentary they put out. It could be a huge game changer, man.
It sure could.
Never underestimate it. Yeah.
One, to Hoag's point, right? The risk you've run here, they've already run. They're not risk. They're already running this risk. Is that kind of the zeitgeist around how people think of an IP that is so beloved, and each person has an independent, specific reason or why that they love Harry Potter and that universe and Hogwarts and everything to do with it. And the way they're selling it, to Hoag's point, is that you are now going to get to do that, right? You're going to get to go to Hogwarts and be a student and learn spells and be a school and do all this. And that is a very different expectation for every person that plays this game. And the odds of them being able to achieve all those things is next to zero.
Right. Well, here's the classes. Here's your student. Here's your hall. You can pick your house. And then not even stopping there, which maybe I could understand. It's like, oh, also the world. Here's Hogsmeade. Here's dungeons. Here you're flying off into the distance. It's like, what didn't you build here? What are we looking at?
What's the scope?
So it's a tremendous, their PR, their marketing. I do a lot of time saying, hey, this sucked as messaging, or this was a bad ad, or like we didn't even bring up Forspoken's big run-in with journalism this week. But like everything that Hogwarts Legacy has shown is magnificent. And now you good luck, right? Yeah. So I do think WB understands that. I do think they understand that that's the check they've written, and that's why I thought a delay was pretty much inevitable. So hopefully February is enough time, but I think they understand they don't want to release Cyberpunk, and Cyberpunk has taught that to the industry for the last couple of years. We'll forget it again in another couple, but for this window, people don't want to be Cyberpunked.
Yeah, that's right.
And like I said,
that become a verb.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, we're living in a post-cyberpunk world, which is weird to say, but it's shout out one to Gecko for making that a verb, and shout out to CDPR for basically making most gamers now jaded about giant release games, and and that's fine, but damn, man, there is no way this game does this bad. And Cyberpunk didn't even do bad. It sold so much right at launch. It just was bad. It had bugs, it had issues, right?
It's not ideal.
It really, it's just, damn. I can't see it happening. I can't see this game failing. Only, based number one on the IP itself. It's going to sell like crazy, and then, the delay hopefully is good. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't even like to speculate, because at this point, who the hell knows? I thought Cyberpunk was going to be this game that released in like mint condition, that was, based on what they showed in some of those, like the 45-minute trailer, like this is incredible, and then we get some of it, there's still stuff that's, not in the game that was promised to be in the game that modders have actually put in the game, because some of those files are still there, and they've come back and found that stuff, like different kinds of cosmetics for your cars and different kinds of, being able to upgrade certain other things. That's all there. They found these files and they've gone through and done it. And, just people at home,
Well, look at what this release did, though. I mean, like, they haven't substantively done anything in 2 years. No, right? Like, I mean, it's going to go December 2020 to August 2022 right now. Hey, they made announcements. They did the BioWare. Remember our good things?
Yeah. It is what
so,
it
is. They pulled the full-on BioWare. Ooh, Dragon Age someday. Okay, fantastic company. I'm very thrilled for you.
Dan, you'd be a good Hagrid, talking about casting options.
Oh, right. Okay, we have other Hollywood. So Hagrid and Dobby, we're ready to go.
I'm Dobby? Yeah, okay. You do kind of have a Dobby look, don't I? I was going to go with Malfoy, but yeah.
I got so many socks. This is going to be great.
Dan will just start sending you socks in the mail. It'll be great.
But no, he already does that. It's been really weird.
I would have Starfield much higher on my list of potential cyberpunkings.
That's what RJH just said. That's scared as a trailer for Starfield. So that's a whole nother discussion. But not to stay on Cyberpunk, but it just occurred to me as you guys were talking, and I know everyone's talked about Cyberpunk endlessly, but we talk about it spearing the company, basically, as you noted, Hogue. Obviously, the reputation, everything else that we've talked about forever. But it is crazy that a game can come out, release 14 million or sell 14 million copies in a month, be an 87% on Metacritic. I just double checked it. It's an 87 on Metacritic and blow up a company. That shows you how big the expectations for that game were, which is just, it's wild to think about.
Well, I also think they got unlucky. That's my personal opinion, is that that game came out right when the new generation of consoles was coming out. No one had them. Those were the consoles where the game worked, and everyone bought them on consoles that the game was not optimized for. And I think that Cyberpunk did not think that people would be mostly playing on those, and it turned out everyone was playing on those. Tens of millions.
It was a perfect storm of events.
And reviewers were not playing on those consoles. They were playing on the new gen of consoles, or they were playing on PC, and most players don't play on PC. So I honestly think Cyberpunk kind of just got really a bad roll of the dice. And the other thing that was moving against them was, the pandemic that meant that the consoles were even harder to get, and that no one got them for even longer. And it really was a perfect storm, man. Like, of all the stuff
right into that window, though. That release date was their 7th.
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, they did that to themselves. And I played it on the Series X, and it was no great shakes.
I also played on the Series X and had a similar experience. But yeah, it's just interesting to. There's like people who played that game on PC and say it was one of their favorite games that year, or their favorite game straight up. And then
it's my favorite game that year.
Yeah, there you go.
I played it on PC and Series X at launch. I've reviewed it on both. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, it wasn't terrible on Series X when it came out. On Xbox One, it was, oh my god, dude.
I had multiple crashes, multiple hard crashes, and a lot of broken quests.
On Series X.
See, and I played on Series X. I had one crash and nothing else, other than little bugs, like I've said before. Cars coming out of the ground, stuff like that.
But you did. My favorite one is that in the downtown is that they didn't frame their like driving pathways right, so everybody would crash coming around those corners. It's like, okay,
funny. All right. So speaking of big scoped games, we're gonna sit down now.
Oh, Tsushima.
And we hopefully with the chat, you feel free to comment and join in here. We are going to sit down and attempt to design or define what our individual perfect game would be. So we're going to start with this and go spec by spec and see what we come up with at the end. And if nothing else, this will either be a great waste of time or a laugh, determining what each of us individually believe are our favorite game experiences. And we've already told Dan ahead of time he cannot just say Hitman 3. That's out the window. So
yeah, I mean that's basically what I'm at here.
He's gonna have to start fresh.
I have some qualifying questions that are gonna annoy you.
May everyone find a $60 purchase that gives you as much joy as Dan received from Hitman 3.
Telling you,
yeah,
still going, baby.
And pedantic Travis is on lockdown for this as well.
Can he be locked
But I
down?
have so many questions.
Pedantic Travis cannot be trammeled.
Yeah, I also
muting
can't.
it.
There's
Muted. You don't get to talk.
You need a graphic that goes with that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
It's like it might as well just take me off the show if I can't be pedantic. I don't have another mode. It's not like I turn it on. It's just me.
That's the seasoning he brings to seasoned gaming.
This is true.
Yeah, there you go. It's a very disgusting flavor of seasoning.
Yeah, it's like new salt.
So I just have a few qualifying questions. Number one, are we designing a game that could exist today, or
Yes.
is it?
Yes.
So it has to be under current technology.
Yes.
Okay.
Are resources or money a concern?
No.
All right.
When I say exists today, do I feasibly in terms of technology, or like if I like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to invent new technology, although that is certainly a path you could go down. But I'm talking about like memory and storage and those sorts of concerns. Do I have to be concerned at all about current technical limitation?
No.
Okay, so then it couldn't exist today. So we're in between the. No, he asked about budget. I'm asking about resources in terms of like this game is too big to fit on any of the consoles or any PCs. You know what I mean?
He wants to ask if he can just say the Matrix, but with roller coasters.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, like,
well, you could stream it, Travis. There's unlimited cloud storage in the
Power
world.
the cloud, Travis.
Power the cloud, buddy. Yeah,
that's right.
You know,
Stadia's got you covered.
Cloud.
Crackdown 3 demo coming at you.
Stadia had you covered.
Perfect.
Crackdown 3's multiplayer. That's where we'll start.
Yep.
Let's try to stay within the bounds of reality, but maybe with a little bump, Travis. What do you say?
Sure.
That sounds fair to me. I'm trying real hard to not be pedantic, guys, and I'm gonna explode.
You know what? You know how every superhero has a weakness? Thought experiments are Travis's kryptonite.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm too robotic for this discussion. I really am.
I consider myself robotic, and you put me to shame.
Okay,
Yes.
I can do this.
All right, we need a overloaded brain graphic for Travis. Something like the smoke coming out of a computer.
A 404 error message for my brain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Benjamin too. It's like real life Ready Player One. Yeah, like we're not at Ready Player One levels yet.
Okay. All right. Something that we could conceivably see ourselves playing within the next 5 years.
Yes, that's fair. So
we do thought experiments for a living.
Let's start with kind of the core of the game and the scope of the game. And again, this is more of a favorite thing. Let's use the word favorite, right? Like your favorite aspects of what you would consider a modern kind of ideal game for you. Like I said, chat, feel free to chime in here. So the very first thing I put, only because I felt it was worth calling out, is there any world in which your ideal game would be a 2-dimensional game instead of a 3D game?
Absolutely not. And anybody that says otherwise is crazy. It's crazy. Out of their minds. I'm just going to put that. I don't even know why you put that on there.
Again, my
favorite game of all time.
Open mind.
So my favorite game of all time is 2-dimensional. I think it can be freeing in certain aspects and allow you to focus on what will undoubtedly be my highlight item, which is story. To me, that's mostly resource based. Like if we're not gonna, if we're a sultan somewhere and we've got unlimited money, I don't think you'd start with 2D in general. So I would say no, I will not fight for 2D on this.
Okay. All right. We'll move on. Calm down, Dan. Calm down.
That's all I got. That was my strongest argument.
That's right. My wife is giving tutorials on 2 Point Campus in the background here in our chat. So
love it. All right. So would you prefer something of an open experience, open world experience, exploratory, or do you want something that's more linear, where you're going along more of a defined path?
So ideally, this is so
Travis's
hard.
head's gonna explode.
Oh
okay,
man,
so
it's so fun to watch.
I'm gonna answer the first question. I'm gonna say 3-dimensional because 3D also contains the 2-dimensional plane. Okay, so that's a net gain. So yeah, 3D is gonna be my answer for that one. For open world versus
to be clear, Arcade Paradise, one of my favorite things that it is doing is it is 3D modeling the arcade machine and playing the 2D game on it, so that you can get reflections. You can actually zoom in and see the pixels of the 3D thing being applied. So
2D is a limiter because
not a
3D can
test.
contain 2D. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3D for my choice of style, and then for
these are guiding questions, Travis.
Okay, for linear versus open world, I'm going to say open world because here's my logic. Linear is a constraint of the fact that when you focus, you have the ability to do certain things better that open world takes away from because of today's current technology. So in an ideal world, you would have all the advantages of an open world, but when then you're doing story stuff, it would be like a linear. You would get the linear level quality experience. Does that make sense?
So like
it does, because that's what Halo Infinite attempted to do, right? It gave you an open world, but each mission was the linear Halo level.
What's Red Dead Redemption 2? I mean, it's an open world game that has a linear story. I mean,
I don't know what I was in wild agreement with Travis until you mentioned Halo Infinite and Red Dead Redemption 2, and now I'm rethinking my life choices.
He doesn't like.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you define it, right? In terms of linear, because the reason I mentioned Halo is it's a semi-open world, right? We can go do, but once you start a mission, right, you actually will go into level design that is linear. It's designed in a way, it's progression based. So Red Dead 2 is kind of have those walls up, but not really, because you still have access to the whole open world during your missions. You can still go around.
You do not, sir. Objection. You get freaking kicked out of a mission if you walk 2 steps to the left and they didn't like it.
Yep. No, it's 100% true.
So I think the goal.
Do not fight me on this. It is my biggest criticism of the game. It's like you'll be looking at a burning house and you say, "I wonder what's around the back. Maybe I could go around the back." You step 2 left, failed. Start again. We need you to walk up.
But I think ideally, right? It's like you get the linear experience of like The Last of Us with the open world and like freeing experience of, any insert your favorite open world game here.
Yeah, but see, here we're going to get into the classical fight here, because would an open world add anything to The Last of Us? And I would argue that it doesn't, right? You talk about something like Mafia. Does an open world add anything to that game? I would offer that it doesn't. And so I don't want to have an open world for no point. I would advocate,
right? I mean, obviously The Last of Us wouldn't make sense because they didn't build the game around that. But if you took your favorite open world game and a world you genuinely enjoy being a part of, let's say like a Xenoblade type game, and then you layered on top of it like a super high quality story that didn't feel like it lost anything because of the open world existing, then I think
Yes, if you assume that I'm wrong, I am in fact wrong. But like the premise that I am saying is that the open world tends to take away from that, right? So if we're talking about optimal approaches, I don't think you can actually say, let's assume there's an open world, and then let's also assume that it doesn't take away anything. For a game like Last of Us, which is designed around suspense and propulsion, I think the open world would undoubtedly take away something from that kind of approach. I think it takes away something from the way they implemented it in Last of Us Part 2, to be frank. And so I think that you can't just assume, let's assume it works. That's fine. But in terms of this conversation, I don't know that an open world would be beneficial to a game like that.
And again, the conversation is, what do you like? What do you like? Like, I think you're getting too defined in would this work theoretically? We're saying,
right. Well, so
forget if it would work. Assume it'll work. What would you like for it to be?
In my ideal, I would probably do something like wide linear, right? Like I would do something that's predominantly linear and motivated by story and narrative and propulsion and drive, and then have a certain width of that linearity that allows you to run around. I think Xenoblade is actually probably maybe too large a little bit for my ideal in terms of those spaces. But I like that concept of really significant story, character, all that stuff with exploration in the middle and paths. Xenoblade's probably just a little too broad for perfect, whatever perfect might be.
Okay, so RGH says, aren't things like Skyrim and Fallout linear open worlds?
I think we're taking 2 different things, though, right? Like a linear story and an open world. I mean, because
we're talking about a good linear story,
right?
Though
right.
I think, right? Because that's the thing is a lot of these open world games they never get to the quality of like a fully linear story where that's where they put all of their time and energy and it shows, right? And so Skyrim ends up feeling like the story's not good, but that's not really what it's about. It's about the open world experience and you making your own stories. And so I think if this is going to be my problem with this entire thought experiment, is that I like every type of video game, and so I'm going to try to put all of it into one game, because if it's my perfect game, if it's going to be my perfect game, it's going to have elements of everything, right? So then
that's
it's going
the point.
to be exactly.
I like how just Travis's description that, and that's how you wind up with Star Citizen. Congrats.
Exactly.
Your game is never coming out.
I feel like I'm creating my least favorite game on accident. You know what I mean? Like
the exact opposite.
Can we do like a monthly thought experiments with Travis? I love this process so much.
The only Travis could say we're gonna add all my favorite things from every game and create my least favorite game.
No, because he's gonna build the Homer. He's really worried about building the Homer as a car.
Exactly.
I love this. This is like a philosophy class, right? We've gone from perfect game into like evaluating both Travis's neuroses and complete accuracy as to how you get scope creep and why there's problems in game development to begin with.
Thank you. Hogue is perfectly describing all the.
But we're not living in reality. This is a fun conversation.
Not for me, Ains. It's not fun for me.
This is a philosophy class.
Like you're not explaining to anyone here that creating an open world and trying to create a narrative like Last of Us detracts from that experience. We all understand that. That's not the topic we're talking about. We're talking about if you could forget those limitations, what would you create? That's it.
I will advocate for.
I know, and what I'm saying is that if I put all my favorite stuff in it, it probably would turn out to be a Frankenstein monster of a game.
It could.
It tries to do too many things, and
certainly
is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what in my brain, I'm like, am I accidentally creating the worst game ever made? Like,
I think you might on the wrong path, Travis. I think you had the right path for you to start out with, which is that I add open world and I assume it works. Let's go with that.
Yeah. But then I'm like, you know, what's my favorite type of combat? Well, I like shooters, but I also really like card-based deck building games. And you know what I mean? So that's got to be in the game too. If it's my favorite game ever. And it's got to have turn-based tactics games. And like,
all right, so you're doing shooting.
Too much.
You're doing shooting, and you've added out a VAT system. And the additions to your guns are all card-based at decks that you can purchase from your.
Do you see? This sounds like a terrible game. What am I doing?
It's not one game to rule them all. Like, this is not the only game that's ever going to exist.
But if it's my perfect game, it should have all those elements, right? It should have.
Oh no!
It should have all of that in there.
So
I say this sincerely, Travis.
Game,
I love you,
also
man.
a single player game.
So chat and audio listeners, this is what I deal with on a weekly basis. If you could see our DMs and some of the conversations we have, this is what I go through on a weekly basis. I hope you appreciate it.
I love it. I love you all. God. This is fantastic. What a Sunday.
Oh man.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and speak because you're taking us all over the place, Travis. Yeah. So I generally agree. I think when I look at my favorite games today and what I would change, what I did the backwards, right? I thought about, okay, what games have my favorite things in them, right? I've talked a million times about loot. So loot is a big aspect I'd want in my game. So when I was thinking about linear open world and story driven, like Witcher came to mind, right? Where it's a big open world. I like the character designs, things like that. There's things I change about it in an ideal space, but my template to begin was I would like a big open world that I can explore. But to Travis's point, this kind of goes, again, just throwing things out there. I would like it to ideally have some sort of live service element where things in the world would evolve over time, right? You would have events, you would have things that would change over time so that, or randomized events, right? Even if they're pre-coded, that they would pop up on occasion.
Warcraft.
Okay. So this is one aspect.
Hogue's perfect game will heartily reject all of Ains's thesis for the last 20 seconds or so.
Wow.
That's fine, right?
And that's randomization is the devil in terms of telling you compelling stories. I want to be in the hands of a master craftsperson. I do not want them having to figure out whether it's raining while the scene is happening or whether it's the Christmas seasonal event while I'm otherwise involved in the death of my parents in the story that's being told to me. I don't want randomization. I want it curated up to wazoo.
Okay. So, and that's fine, right? We don't have to agree on what our favorite game is.
We will not, good sir.
You guys. All right. So, Dan, where are you at here? Open world, what type of linear, story driven?
Yeah, you want some kind of story. I mean, I am a big fan of Mass Effect and how they did it for the most part. So I kind of went with that as a
1,
basis.
2, or 3.
All of them. It's more of the I want to be, I don't want you to go, okay, I played this, I was Commander Shepard. I want you to play it and be like, I was me. I was that person. I made these decisions. Those decisions need to be, weighty. They need to, have meaning farther down the line in this story, right? As far as the open world and linear, I'd rather have an open world where I could, walk around and kind of go where I want to go, different planets, not necessarily, I guess, different cities, just maybe like a hub world. Like my initial instinct was like, well, I'd like to do Hitman 3, but I want to change everything, right? It's exactly what I thought. I was like, but there's so many ways to, go down. Like I can't get you like a specific story, but I would like to, like if you took like Spec Ops: The Line, Ghost Recon Wildlands, Splinter Cell, Hitman 3, and Mass Effect 3, found a bunch of stuff and mixed it all together, making a giant open world, with certain things, but you go from like 18 years old, you join the army, right? This is just kind of like something I threw in my head. You join the army, you become like a SEAL team. Then you eventually progress to maybe something like, Splinter Cell, Sam Fisher like kind of thing. Then you get married maybe and have a couple kids, and then after that,
you have a Sims level,
right? Yeah, you get married, and then you create this network of like spies and assassins and stuff like that, or maybe you work for somebody. I don't know what it is. I mean, there's so much you could do. How does this killing this person who also has kids affect you as a person in your family life?
You should have a therapy game from there,
right? Yeah, there's a whole system, of where, and then eventually you get, you deal with maybe like serious issues, and I'm not even joking, like PTSD and stuff like that, where you can really get in. There's so much I would do in my head, and then I would play it and then probably complain about it, just like Travis, and that's okay. There's so much like that went through my head when you first gave us this kind of assignment, and I was just like, it's hard to do.
This assignment.
It's an assignment in my head, so like I'm just thinking like all this stuff. I understand where Travis is coming from to a certain extent. It's a lot. So it would definitely be only single player. I don't care about multiplayer at all. It could be a live service game, but
okay. I was gonna say I asked you.
No, I'm just gonna give it all right up here.
His perfect game is a full-on spy life simulation. Okay.
Yes. There it is.
He wants a James Bond open world RPG.
Starting at like graduation from high school. He wants the whole shebang.
Go from it. Yeah, that's where you start off. Maybe mom left dad. And
who embraced the assignment that Ains assigned us for homework? Dan.
Yep.
That is Dan's perfect game. I believe that entirely.
Totally.
There you go. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to say.
Travis can review it.
You're welcome. Yeah, he would be the only one reviewing it though, because that's who would get it.
All right, let's get a couple super chats real quick before we continue down this. This isn't a road. I don't know what we're on right now, but
this is fun.
Yeah. Gio Rio back with $10 10 euros. Would it work if you first have a story to follow until the end, and then when you got in love with the world, it becomes open world, and then you can go explore and get tons of individual side quests?
So I like this comment a lot because one of the things that I found interesting, and I've heard other people say this before too, is what happens. We're talking about, we want an open world where you go explore and do stuff on your own, but we also want a linear story-driven experience that's well written and kind of engaging, right? What I've heard other people say, couldn't you do exactly what Gio's saying here, where you have like an 8 to 10 hour story-driven linear experience that at the end then opens into kind of a different game where it's open world and you can continue with additional things?
This is fundamentally the Final Fantasy model, right? I mean, we're a little bit far afield from how the series has long been shown, and we're having a Devil May Cry game thrust upon us unwillingly later on. But as a series, it has long been, here's the world, it kind of has ostensible open world, but actually there's mountains around everything. So you're going to hit these towns in order. And then right before you fight the big bad, you're going to get the full airship and you're going to have other things that you can go and explore and hang out with, because the world's going to be done when you're done with the game. So you can put that post credits. Travis has mentioned there's a new game plus in whatever that looks like in Xenoblade. Could be anything. Because like I said, timey-wimey stuff, folks. And so I think that linear RPGs, especially of the Japanese variety, have done this to some extent, but it's not an open world as we would think of it in Red Dead Redemption or Ghost of Tsushima or whatever.
Gotcha. Gio, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I think to Hoag's point, it's out there in various ways depending on how you want to consume it. And I think most of what we would talk about here is out there in various ways. That's kind of the point. Like, what aspects of these games would you piece together? Travis, meanwhile, looks like he just worked like a 20-hour shift.
I thought it looked like he had Taco Bell and it was bad.
Fantastic. I'll do what I can.
All right. So more super chats here real quick. This is a funny one.
Yeah, this is how Cyberpunk 2077 was created.
This is how every scope creep game ever was created.
This is the scope creep mini game we're playing right here. 100%. Pampa in the house.
Pampa, Travis' favorite game is a working Nerf Legends.
I think he's considering whether he was too harsh on it. Yeah. I think he's thinking maybe that wasn't Dan's game. Maybe I should give it a few more points.
Imagine Nerf Legends with a strong narrative.
Yeah. You guys are highlighting why I've never given a 1. Why the lowest I've ever gone is 2, because nobody's made these games we're designing right now.
And question for Gecko back with question for Dan.
Have you played Alpha Protocol? I have. It's been a very, very long time. I remember Alpha Protocol barely. It didn't get very good reception when I remember when it released.
I loved it, but I
thought it was all right.
Flawed.
Yeah. It's been a long time though, for sure.
It concepted out a lot of cool stuff that I thought would be used that was not.
Sounds like what we're doing.
It went down a dead end.
All right, so trying to move on here. Would you have your character be written for you? The example I'll give here is like an Arthur Morgan, a Geralt, where you're playing the character, but it's predefined, right? Or something where you create your character from scratch, look and build. And then there's obviously variations here, right? So are you in the RPG elements where you're going to build your character over time? Or is your character kind of set and, you really just customize the look?
I don't think that is a false dichotomy, right? Because again, if you think about a JRPG, you're not changing your characteristics, you're changing your equipment and things, but obviously the materia system is big, the job systems are big in those kinds of series. So I will answer for myself only and say I 1000% want a written character. I do not think video game writers are either gifted enough or that maybe any writers are capable of telling a story that evaluates every possibility for who you are within that world.
Fair. The one thing I've always commented on this, right, is the difference for me between Witcher 3 and Skyrim. Is that in Witcher 3, you're Geralt. There's very defined characters because it's based on the books, obviously.
He's over it. My favorite pet of Geralt is he's over everything.
Yeah, he's done with it
in that entire game.
Versus Skyrim, where you're really just a nondescript nobody, and the story really, we've talked about that, right? So, and I much prefer the Geralt approach in Witcher over Skyrim, but I also love the fact that I can customize attributes and skills and things like that. I'm very much an RPG guy, so my game would definitely have the ability to build your character with different character builds. Something where you could modify and play it in different ways over multiple playthroughs.
Geralt has builds, right? I mean, I don't know that you were discounting that.
No, that's kind of my point. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right.
So you could still have the character written a certain way, right?
Yes.
But you can modify. Yep. The funny thing is like Elden Ring or just your From games in general, right? You can play in many different ways, different builds, weapons, etc. But but the writing behind it is you're not driving that really. You know what I mean? It's
your character is a non-entity.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I like kind of a mix.
Are we concerned about Travis? Do we need to send EMS over?
Oh, man.
Travis, do you like written characters or create your owns? Oh no. Oh, okay. Do you have a preference for one or the other?
I think my preference is, I think you can write the character and still let the person play who they want to play. So like an example of that would be, you play like the Inquisitor in Dragon Age. You're like a written character, and yet you get to sort of choose what that character is. And I think you can choose even their species like you could in Dragon Age Origins and stuff like that. And I think there's probably, my preference would be a middle ground between the freedom of getting to play who you want and also being written. Like Commander Shepard's a good example. I think that's probably what I would be my preference, because I think you can write it correctly if you give it a defined character, but there's that question.
Yeah, I don't think so fundamentally. And you're obviously, you're welcome to your preference, and a lot of people like that. But to me, it's like you're still either bound to either play to always hit the blue button or always hit the red button, or come across as a psychopath, right? Like if you're talking about a Commander Shepard or the Inquisitor, those choices are, I like that I am cursed, or I don't like that I am cursed, and you could vacillate, but you're a crazy person at that point in time. So why not write it with an actual character beat of that? I don't feel like I'm gaining anything from that, because ultimately I'm going to do a run through where I'm blue and a run through where I'm red, and whatever.
But you get, I think the reason to do it would be because player agency is important in a video game, and also it allows people to have different experiences in a game. And I got this ending, you got that ending. That's interesting. We experienced different things. We got to play the way that we wanted to play and have freedom.
I think that either dilutes the narrative, or that there's one way that's better written.
Well, in my version of the game,
right,
they wrote a perfect narrative while also implementing that system, because I am not held to what has existed before. Am I doing it right, Ains?
Correct. Yeah. You're getting it.
So they nailed it in my version of this game that can't exist. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that would just be my preference, is if they could write it well, then that would be the way to go. But I agree that that's never happened before, and I think there's probably a reason behind it. And I am not naive to that. It is a trade-off, right? So
yeah, agree. Yeah, when I look at my favorite narrative games, they are not typically games where you have a lot of control over the narrative, right? You know what I mean? They're crafted to Hoag's point, but
I call them the "Would You Kindlies." Those games.
Yeah, well, that's one of them, right? Yeah. All right. So let's get into the fun stuff, which Travis, I know, is going to be great at, is gameplay mechanics.
Oh no. Oh no. Don't make me do this. So it's 10:05. It's been a good show, everyone. We're gonna
Travis' camera clicks off.
So first or third person?
I'm a third person guy. I can't.
Okay. Third person today, tomorrow, every day. Third person.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay, that was definitive for two of our cast members.
Yeah.
Cast members. It's like I'm at Disney.
I would probably say third person as well, honestly. Only because the game I'm envisioning for myself is more of an RPG, open world RPG type game. And in those types of games, third person is just the way to go. Especially
you put Travis in a box now, because whatever Travis truly believes, his contrarianness will overcome.
Understood.
I will.
So now I've created a paradox, because now I've said that he has to say first person.
And I also recognize going into this question that he loves Destiny, which is first person, and that has its own weight behind it. So,
joke's on you. Yeah. I choose both. Many games have both. Many games let you choose to either play in third or first person. The ideal game would give players the choice, like Elder Scrolls Online. You can play it in third person or first person.
Okay.
And that was my choice.
Oh, I bought between them in Elder Scrolls, because they're different. Combat's better in third, immersion's better in first. But if just so we're keeping track at home, Travis, out of the choices so far, you chose 3D because 3D incorporates 2D. You chose open world because you can have a linearity within an open world. And you chose both for third person and first person. Is that accurate?
Shut up, Hoag.
He's not what we would define as decisive.
Yeah. I actually am sweating. Whoever said that comment, but I'm sweating. I am sweaty right now. Like I am physically sweating.
All right.
There's been a lot of games though that have done that well. Because like Elder Scrolls,
my game did it well perfectly.
Okay, great.
Yes, Travis is with that. ESO does it well. ESO looks good both ways because it was
ESO
built
does
in
it
a
well.
third-person game.
It
does it all right.
But
You
I
kinda
think
look like a
ideally
weird
they would
flaily kinda
let
guy.
you choose, and both would be well thought out, and they put enough time into
Yes.
it. I'm not worried about budget or anything here. So in my world, they put equal amount of development time into making both work really well.
40,000 animators are making every possible
That's right. Yeah.
animation.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So
We did it. That one was quick.
That one was quick. What about what do you want your game to contain? Is it single player? Oh, no. You got to let me finish because I'm going to throw like 8 things at you at once.
Okay.
Is it explorative, right? Is it more combat driven? Is it a mix? Are there survival aspects, right? Do you have to be concerned about character management? And I should say, are you alone, or do you have some sort of party system where you can recruit people and eventually have more than one kind of protagonist or people with the protagonist? Or are you always kind of solo here?
I would like a single player game with a party of probably non-playable character companions to add to narrative and world building. Okay. I do not need survival elements. I do like filling bars of certain kinds, so general RPG progression of skills and experience. And you say explorative, I would say that I want to focus primarily on the narrative and then have that kind of wide linear approach as we talked about before with some exploration elements, but primarily focused on telling me a good story.
Okay. See, that's a good answer.
Well, I'm going to just say yes.
That's what RJH said in the chat. Yes.
Yeah.
So you want you don't want survival aspects in your game.
No. Well, I mean, you know what though? I mean, State of Decay 2 is one of my favorite games on Xbox.
What game? I'm sorry.
State of Decay 2.
Oh,
I like a survival game.
That's true.
You know, it's a great game. I would like more relationship building, I guess, with other characters, where those characters then down the line maybe play a part in how the story unfolds or how you develop also as a character. Mass Effect, but on steroids with, actual meaningful relationships, that would be nice. As far as like combat and stuff, I mean, I'm getting married and, having kids. So, I mean, you're going to have some combat and stuff. I'd like a system of, gosh, I don't even know how to put this. Just like a system where like you have control of kind of like a Yakuza, like a dragon, where you've got that kind of side business kind of thing going on, but with assassins as opposed to, investing in actual businesses. That's
you can do laundry in Arcade Paradise right now.
Right. I can do laundry.
There you go.
Something, for me, the whole thing is having choices in the game matter, having like Travis said, I'd like a lot of player agency. I'd like to give the motivations to my character, for doing these kind of things. So it'd definitely be an RPG for sure.
Okay.
So that's kind of, combat. Yeah. You want to have good combat. You don't want to have, we're throwing all kinds of money at this game. So
you don't even have to have a game doesn't have to have combat.
It doesn't have to have combat necessarily. This one does, in my head.
Do you do your side characters or the people that you build relationships with, do they have an impact on that combat? Do you fight with them? Is it a party?
No, it's a single player kind of thing.
Okay.
I guess, you could have that some kind of interact, but we're getting into the weeds here, guys. I mean, I could go on. I could make it, okay, well, we're going to go, this part of the game is Ghost Recon Wildlands, where you have 3 AI, companions that are going to do this mission. And you could, I guess, just have that happen if you wanted to, but generally I would say single player.
Okay.
Kind of stuff.
Nick Metal X says a survival resource management story-based multiplayer RPG. There you go.
Dating sim. Should I put in there?
Yes.
If we talk
dating sim elements.
If we talk on Bitcast for like 10 years, Dan, and we find out at the end of all of this that your ideal game is like The Sims, I'm going to find that very hilarious, by the way.
Well, if they would release some actual Hitman content with The Sims, you might be all right. That's what I did when I played The Sims, is I would build staircases to random rooms and watch people walk up there and then take away their staircase and watch them poop themselves. So that was always fun.
I would say in this, it depends. I'm very curious to see kind of like what we get at Diablo 4, because where I'm leaning is a big kind of explorative, as I've already said, open world where I can, there's type of events and there's progression, RPG building, lots and lots of items and loot management, which I know some people don't like, but I love it. But I want to be able to play in co-op as well, right? So I can play in single player and explore and just lose myself in the game as much as I want. But if you guys or anyone else want to join me, you can have a co-op where they bring their customized character and with their builds and their attacks and everything else, and join me and we go explore together.
I like it.
Nope.
Not in my game.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. Travis, how you doing, brother?
Struggling.
All right, here's my game. My game is based around player agency, where you can approach whatever situation however you want. So it will obviously have both melee and ranged combat, like a shooter, or you can fight. That's one way to get through the game if you want, like Cyberpunk or like a Fallout or what have you. But if you want, you can also talk your way through situations, turn it into a philosophy battle like Forgotten City. And if you want, you can go romantic route and turn it into a dating sim type aspect if you want to do that. Or you can challenge them to a card-based duel to get through the encounter if that's how you want to approach the situation and make it like a deck building game. You can also play this game alone or with friends. It has a mode where it's basically an MMO and a mode where it's fully offline game. And you can also choose to have party members or not, both human and not human. Right. So it's like basically what I'm describing is like, the freedom you get of like Fallout New Vegas. I'm just describing that on like steroids, where like every possible permutation of getting through the game is possible. And somehow they're all super well developed games that can fit onto somebody's hard drive. So that's my pitch.
I can't help but notice that does follow Travis's no.
Shut up, Hogue.
Does it have loot management?
Yes.
Or
you can turn it off.
And also no.
Yes, you can turn it off if you want, obviously.
There's just a switchboard of options.
Turn it off if you want.
RPG
what Travis has developed is C++. Make what you will.
It's amorphous, the game. This is what Travis
I'm describing RPG
doing.
Maker, I think.
Yes. Or just a Unity subscription. Just have that.
Dude, this is an impossible question for me to answer, obviously, but there you go.
I love it.
All right. What setting do you guys want? You want modern day? You want sci-fi? Do you want fantasy? Do you want something mixed? Do you want Forspoken?
Now I have to choose one, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think so.
It's a time traveling
traveler.
Game,
It's like, well, here's my game. It's a set of portals to a sci-fi land and a fantasy land. One's going to be modern day.
I like it.
It's Ready Player One.
I am very much a medieval type guy. I want castles. I want dragons. I want
You look like one.
demons. Thank you. Demons and there's fantasy aspects, right? I mean, stuff like Elder Scrolls Online. That aesthetic and idea about magic and wizards and beasts is definitely me. Armor, and those types of things for sure.
After having made fun of Travis a little bit, I actually think I am going to do that. I would advocate something of a Chrono Trigger type approach, with something that has a foundational graphic characteristic, but otherwise shows a bunch of variety, like Chrono Trigger having the future and the caveman and the dark brooding medieval times and things like that. So yeah, I'll take them all.
Alive.
Yeah. Well, so yes, in concept, but as a actual combined narrative of some kind.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going with modern day setting. There's just not enough of them.
I
don't get me wrong. I love the medieval kind of stuff. Love it, but I'd like more of those.
I'm surprised you didn't straight say sci-fi, Hogue.
Me? Yeah. Oh, well, I have trouble envisioning a truly successful science fiction video game, I would say, in terms of what I like.
Wow.
See, this is your chance.
Yeah. I mean, like even Star Control 2, which I've said is at the top of my list, is predominantly kind of a fantasy approach to science fiction.
Okay.
So
all the best ones are.
Yeah, I don't think You see Travis trying to squeeze in Star Wars stuff right there.
And I mean, just
I don't think that hard sci-fi plays very well in general. So we'll see.
Find out in Starfield.
We won't find out because that will not be that will not be the zenith of what hard sci-fi can be. I can promise you that.
I would just also like to say real quick that all my mechanics will be explained within the first hour of the gameplay, and you will not be running into crap.
Man, don't play Xenoblade, friend.
Yeah, I know. 8 levels down the road where they're introducing new mechanics because
also,
it will all be laid out
Tales
to you nicely.
And Yakuza, both of those games have
Yakuza.
Yeah,
Yakuza's Yakuza's not terrible at it. I mean, it's generally the same stuff. The problem with Tales, on the other hand, I was still learning stuff 2 hours before I finished it. I was just like, this is insane. I had like 80 hours into it. It was crazy. Yeah. I don't need that garbage.
Dino just keeps dropping new menus at me.
Too much.
Yeah, you haven't even seen the half of it, Hogue. It's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think I do like Hogue's route of choosing hopefully multiple settings. I would say maybe the setting adapts based on your player choices, Like there could be some sort of like meta involvement, right? Where you're sort of shaping the world and it's becoming a fantasy world or not. I don't know what this game is.
Guy Travis is officially making the Total Recall video game.
Yeah, this is too much. This is too much for me. I'm
Creed too. You're in the Animus and just going to different time periods.
Exactly,
and
something like that. There's
he also made Assassin's Creed Infinity, right?
Yeah, there you go. Maybe that's what it is. It's Travis's perfect game.
Travis is working on it. They're in San Francisco, folks.
It's true. They're actually a block away from my old IGN office.
A couple comments here. Elu Spook says, I noticed no one's favorite game is a fighting game, and this makes me sad. Give me a 2D fighting game that blends the systems of Weapon Lord, Sam Show, and
Sekiro's
third, maybe
third.
I don't know.
With Sekiro's deflection. So, okay. Benjamin Too Good says Crusader Kings 3 Game of Thrones mod might just be the perfect game. And Pampa says all this game features makes me sad that not many games use the Nemesis system. Really like the idea of battling, and if you die, lose, there's a domino effect in the world.
So did the patent office.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Well, that's a longer conversation. Check out Virtual Legality, but it is patented.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Sum it up. Tell me in a 60-second pitch what your ideal game is.
I think I did mine earlier. So,
you pretty much.
I'm good. I would also like to add that I'd like Austin Wintory to score my game.
Dan wants
music is important.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can guess everybody. So Dan wants a half sim, half action spy fantasy. Live your best spy life. Hogue just wants a game from 30 years ago, verbatim with no changes. Ames wants.
I was just gonna say I wanted a modern kind of updated version of I think a Chrono Trigger with probably each of the settings treated as a small. This is important. A smallish open world environment. That gives you that linear wide progression through a story of what we can do now with graphics and things. But yeah, the one thing that you didn't ask us about, Ains, is I do think one of the most important aspects of video games, ironically, it doesn't get mentioned a lot, is music. And I think if you go and you correlate the ones that are really well received for reasons that maybe people don't even realize, it tends to be ones with really strong scores. And so I definitely would want to have an operatic, dramatic score of the John Williams equivalent for the video game.
I am with you entirely. I would have said when I think about kind of scores of my ideal game, the kind of one I'm describing, it's in that vein for sure. The first thing that came to mind, no joke, is the theme music from Dark Souls 3, which is epic.
Mine's all dubstep. That's like the only hard answer I give you. Is
players have agency. They can change the rhythm.
It has to be dubstep.
It's dubstep, but they can change the beats per minute.
Your choice is adjust the bass drops.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How long it takes for the bass
drops. So I wouldn't say mine is 30 years ago, Travis. Just in terms of defending myself, but it has those sensibilities.
Yeah. Well,
come on, Travis. What's yours? Nail it.
My game is Minecraft meets Skyrim meets Destiny. It is a amalgamation of all my favorite things in games, trying to put it into one thing, like a 4-year-old cooking for himself by putting M&Ms and ice cream and pasta and all the stuff he likes into one bowl.
Your thought experiment and substitute my own.
Exactly. He's just stirring it around, completely unaware of the horror he's just created. Please do not make my game. That's my pitch. Please don't do it.
I think we've come pretty close to mine in reality. If you took something like Witcher 3 and added more, added potential co-op, mix Witcher 3 with like Diablo 3 or Diablo 4 and a very extensive character building and looting system that evolves over time. So I caution to say live service elements, but I think you know what I mean. Something like where new story elements and new world events are delivered over time. You've got me for thousands of hours.
I just realized I went like a John Wick video game, basically.
Pretty
there
much.
You go.
Yeah, that's it. With like a dog. Instead of the kids.
Where you have to manage your dog.
This game added a dog.
Right, yeah, not for long because spoilers.
He gets a new one.
You need incentive.
That's true. He does.
Yeah. How else would he have incentive to kill hundreds of people?
That's right.
So, yeah.
I don't think he kills hundreds in John Wick.
I mean, within the 3 movies, maybe.
Well, yeah, by the time you get to the 3rd, but in John Wick 1, he probably kills like 17. Like something like that.
That's probably true.
I love that you picked such a specific number.
Now I want to look it up. How about
I know the movie with the most deaths in it, the most murders is Rambo 2, I think it is. Like he killed, like there's a specific number.
We're not including like Force Awakens and 5 planets or something like that.
Yeah, I'm talking about like personal, like
like
a guy killed another guy, like on screen. Yeah, like that's
Is it really?
Yeah, I looked this up a while ago. I think it's Rambo 2 or 3. It's one of the Rambo movies. Yeah.
I was off. Rambo 2, he gets in the attack chopper and he's just shooting missiles and everything, but the missiles never end. He just keeps shooting endlessly and blowing everything up.
There you go.
I apologize. We have a full visual graphics on this by which weapon, where he killed them, how accurate his shots were. John Wick killed 77 people in his first movie. 77.
Wow,
You're in hundreds.
Yeah, I think Rambo 2 is over 100. It's over 100 people.
77 is more than I would have guessed for John.
Yeah, that's way more than I would have guessed.
Yeah. Well,
you were off by a lot, Hogue. Like you blacked out a lot of that murder. That's pretty.
I did. It's not my favorite movie ever. Yeah. Apparently, the red circle he killed almost 30. So I don't even remember what the red circle is.
Yeah, it was the bar.
When thing.
Dan wants a John Wick game. Hogue, only thing I would say, my feedback on yours is I think you should have more ambition for your game. I think you should imagine a world where this game is online or evolves over time and still retains as good of a story and all that stuff. I don't
want it. I will tell you this. I have a hard block on co-op and multiplayer, and you can tell me I can imagine the design doesn't suffer from this, but if you have it for the capability of having another person in there, if you have it for the capability of having live services or what have you in there, the design suffers for what I want it to be.
What about just the purpose of building more content and telling the story beyond the?
I will happily pay for your sequel.
All right, so you just want to buy a sequel and not you don't want.
I want my games in Amber. One of the big problems I have with live services is that if I really enjoyed, something like Forsaken, like that, it is a moment in time, and I much rather have, and I've talked about this before on this show. Like I love that my board games sit over there and nothing can happen to them. Those cards can't be changed secretly one day when I wake up this morning and I look at those cards. Everything is as it is. And yes, perhaps I'm shouting at a cloud on that, but I would want my perfect game to be there and perfect always and forever.
There you go.
There.
Yeah. It's not an answer that is the answer to this question is not going to, it's going to be very individual, right? Everyone likes, especially once you get the like nitty gritty of individual aspects, people like different things. So.
Which is why my game is designed to appease everyone and succeeds at appeasing 0 people.
That is how it will go down.
Yeah, exactly.
Travis, you survived. You feeling okay? Heart rate back to normal?
No, I'm a wreck. You've ruined my day. I'm literally
oh no.
my whole day is over now.
Put
It's
on
early.
Arcade Paradise, put on some 90s tunes, do some laundry. You'll be right as rain.
Don't worry, everyone. I'm going to DM him all day asking him more questions. So
Perfect.
Sardanism says his is Kingdom Hearts 4, but let Brandon Sanderson write the rest of the story so it makes sense, and let Yoko Taro lead level design. I don't know who those people are, but I'm sure that makes sense to
Yes, you do. Brandon Sanderson is the writer of Mistborn and the Stormlight Archives. Yoko Taro makes the Nier games.
Nope.
Yeah, you lost me.
Yoko Taro, yeah, I know. Yeah, but the other two.
Yoko Taro, you said, is the designer from
Nier.
Nier. Okay.
Yeah, I know Yoko Taro.
Brandon Sanderson likes video games. He should write some. Honestly, he would be good at it.
There you go. All right. Anyone listening to this later, leave us a comment. Let us know what your ideal game is and give us some aspects. Ask Travis some questions. It'll do him some good. He's got to work through this.
Tweet at him. He loves it.
He loves it. Tweet at him questions of what his favorite aspects of games are. It'll be his therapy. We'll work through this together. So I was waiting for some sort of response, but I think we've been
no. He's broken.
I'm just crestfallen. That's my response.
And with that, I think we will go ahead and close out. Travis, wipe your mind clean for a second and tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, you can read my review of Digimon Survive on IGN.com. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Spoiler alert. You can see my preview of Construction Simulator, which comes out, I think, in October. The game comes out in October. You can watch my preview now. But that game is hilarious. And also, for those who don't know, my dad is a real life owner of a construction company. So I made him as my playable character and then recreated his business exactly in my preview. So that was a pretty hilarious way to play through that. And yeah, I've got other stuff coming out that I can't talk about, but I'm keeping busy. And actually, this weekend was the first weekend in 8 months that I have had no video game projects to work on actively. I don't start my next preview until tomorrow. So I've just been chilling and catching up on games and playing games that I actually choose myself to play, which is rare for me. So yeah, it's been cool. So
cool. That's good. So I forgot to say this at the housekeeping at the beginning of the show. Darn it. We will not be here next week. So anyone listening, anyone still in the chat right now, we are taking a week off. I will actually not be around. I'm traveling. I think we all thought it would just be nice to have a week off. We haven't taken a break. I don't know when the last time we didn't have a Bitcast was. It's been a while.
We've all rotated around like episodes, but yeah.
It was the week of Christmas, I think. You guys wanted to.
Yeah, that's probably about right. So anyway, wanted to let everyone know we will not be here next week. We will be back on August 28th. And if all things line up, we will have a big special guest. The four of us will be here, plus a special guest on the August 28th show. It should be one that you do not want to miss. So just look for that. Anyway, Hogue, what's happening?
I'm online all the time. Every day. We're on like 17 days in a row of Hogue. You can't miss me. I'm very sorry. But no, on the channel, we've got Hangouts and Headlines almost every day. We've got Virtual Legalities. We've got Lawyers and Dragons on Saturdays, mostly weekly until we finish up our campaign. If you hang out with us yesterday, you saw we had a big cliffhanger. Very excited about where that's going. But otherwise, I'm doing what I do. There's a lot of media to critique. There's a lot of video games to talk about and a lot more stories to come. So if you're interested in, for instance, all of the legal documents filed by Elon Musk and Twitter, 400 plus pages. We went over them all this week. And so we could talk about those pretty extensively. Come check it out. We've got a lot of fun stuff. I'm super excited about the channel. Channel continues to grow. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing it as long as people keep being interested. So check it out there or follow me on Twitter at Hogue Law and see me rant about randomness and be called various names. Twitter.
Yes. Great shout outs, and definitely check it out, and definitely check out Lords and Dragons, which debuted yesterday. Not debuted, but the kind of
new
started
season.
the official series. Yeah. So check that out. It's very unique and very cool. As far as season gaming goes, we've got a review of Cult of the Lamb up right now. We also Eric took a look at a new controller from Victrix. It's a company that is making kind of esports, kind of their aim is esports level kind of tournament controllers and devices. They have a headset. We took a look at the controller, so that's up. We have a video and a written review on that one. My foot is almost back to normal, so I'm starting to adjust here. I set up yesterday right back here to start doing some of these statue reviews and unboxings that have been sitting down here for a while. People have reached out and asked about them because I have tons to do. So you'll see some of those come this week finally as well. So just keep an eye out. As always, thank you for supporting us here. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out today. Thanks for watching Travis break down and have a mental collapse in front of in everyone. That was fun. And we will see you in 2 weeks. See you then.